Welcome to Films from the Phantom Zone, your podcast about failed and forgotten comic book movies, where we watch a forgotten superhero movie and decide, does this belong in the Phantom Zone or out and about for everyone to rewatch and remember fondly? So, what's a movie that's in the Phantom Zone? Ghost Rider 2. Forget it exists, right?
Oh,
That's
definitely.
pretty much
That's
how
one
we're
that we
gonna-
both pretty much hated.
Yeah. So, my name is Arnaldo. I'm your host, and I'm joined, as always,
By Berto.
Birdo, and the dog is here, Kaya. Kaya, say hi. Okay, cool.
Of course, she doesn't make noise when she's actually
Yeah,
on the
well, I
mic.
think she breathed on the mic a little bit, so that'll be good. Kaya, honey, we're not gonna really play that much, okay? Because we gotta record the podcast. Okay, she wants to play though, so she's gonna be making noise, I'm sure. Please forgive us. Moving on. Birdo, what movie are we watching today?
We were watching TMNT from 2007.
So this is a sort of sequel. It's related.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into it, but it's a little tenuous. Its connections to the previous three movies we just did.
Well, actually, it's sort of similar to like how Ghost Rider 2 is that actually a sequel to the first one, or is it like a soft reboot type deal?
And that's what we talked about. We couldn't really decide.
Because this one has connections to the first one,
does.
especially at the end of the movie.
Yeah. There's some Easter eggs.
But
in there.
the director said it's related to the original trilogy,
Yeah.
but Peter
Laird.
said it was not.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
I'm not sure how much input Peter Laird actually had on this movie, though.
Right. Wow. So we just did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 through 3, right? The live action ones from the early 90s. So those episodes are out. Actually, 1 and 2 is out. 3 is not out yet. Actually, those episodes are out. I'm an idiot because by the time you hear
By the
this...
time you hear this, it'll probably be out. If you're watching live, it's not out yet.
It's not out yet, exactly. So they made 3 and then took a big long break.
Was it like 14 years?
Yeah, 14 to 2007. And this is a animated CGI sequel. And usually we have some rules on what we decide, what counts and what doesn't. And like rule number 1 is live action movie that is based on a comic book and a superhero, right?
Right.
So this already kind of breaks the rules. The only reason we're doing it is because it is, according to most people, a sequel to those 3 movies.
Right. It takes place within the same film franchise. And it wasn't like just some like direct to DVD animated thing that they threw out. Like this was like a full feature length movie.
Exactly.
Came out in theaters, the whole thing.
Yeah. But that weirded me out because I can't think of many other examples where something like this has happened. Where there's a sequel to a movie, but it's in a different like style.
I feel like it has
format.
happened before. I just couldn't name an example.
I can't think of one. The only thing I can think about is like The Witcher, which has been like a book, a TV show, and a video game, and they're all connected, right? Like they're not remakes of each other.
That's true for the video games. The video games are technically sequels to the books, but the author of the books doesn't consider the video games canon.
Oh boy, here we go.
Which is funny because the video games are more popular than the books.
Right. You should just like write off the.
And the Netflix show
Success
is
of
just
that.
based on the books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you could watch the Netflix show and then play the game, and that would take place after the Netflix show.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So you'll play the game and all the characters will be like older.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than something like that, I can't really think of many other examples where something like this has happened.
Where like it like crosses mediums.
Yeah, other than like things like the Animatrix, and there've been a couple of
That's more of a
situations.
spin-off type deal though. It's not really a
Yeah,
sequel.
it's like supplementary material.
Yeah.
Because the same thing has
Star Wars
happened-
does that a lot with their shows.
Oh yeah, sure.
Star Wars does that with their shows. Marvel's now doing that with
Some
their
are
shows.
animated. I know the Chronicles of Riddick had like a 30-minute mini movie that was animated. It's like anime
okay.
style. I think we talked about this. Watchmen has one. There's an animated portion that's like on the DVD of the comic within the comic.
Oh, the pirate ship. And all that. Yeah.
Right. And you could watch that if you wanted to.
Yeah. But it's like supplementary.
It is supplementary, yeah. But something like this
Even
where it's
within
like
the comic book, it was kind of supplementary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like an outright sequel in a completely different medium. Like, I can't think of another example.
And maybe we'll think of one later and correct ourselves next episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't worry. We got corrections. That's coming up next. So the first 3 films came out 1990, 91, and 93. Each one on a slightly bigger budget than the last one and made a lot less money.
Each one made less,
right?
Like as it went, yeah.
So, like, this thing about movie studios is that they only think about it as a business. They see these movies are making less money. They don't ask why. They don't go, well, is it because we're not making good movies? Should we maybe make a good movie? Would that make us more money?
No, people just don't want to watch this anymore.
People don't watch Ninja Turtles anymore. It's a fad and it's gone. We know today that's not true. Like, it's never gone out of fashion.
It's still going on today. There's a reboot on the way.
Exactly. And there's a brand new show that came out a few years ago. It's on, like, season 2. You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah, like you said, it's not going anywhere.
No.
So they said, we can't make another big budget film. It has to be lower budget. They were going to make a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 called The Next Mutation. We talked about this last week, that instead those ideas got recycled into
a very cheaply made television show.
Yes, by Saban, the same people who make Power Rangers. So they tried making this version of this movie, like an animated sequel, around like the year 2000, which is already, I guess 7 years later.
This movie was in production for a long time.
Right. But they basically said, if we have to make it for cheaper, it needs to be animated. And they thought...
Otherwise, it's going to look terrible.
Right. But it's funny, because I read that the director said that they chose animation because they could do the things that they wanted to do more or better than in live action. To which I'm like, that's bullshit. Because... those last movies had great fight stunts.
Yeah.
Like, great stunts. Stunts were never a problem in those films.
It was just more work.
So, yeah, don't tell us that you can do more with this. No.
Unless we're talking about, like, all the monsters that are in this movie.
Oh, I mean, I guess. But those don't... we'll get to those. The monsters didn't really need to be in the movie, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, before we get started, guys, TMNT... I guess we kind of did get started, but anyway. TMNT... is available on HBO Max along with the other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies that we've already seen, the first 3.
Are the Michael Bay ones on there too? Is the whole franchise on there?
Because that belongs to Nickelodeon.
So that's probably on Paramount.
It's currently not on Paramount. It's not streaming. I think it might have had one of those like streaming deals.
With like stars or some bullshit?
So yeah, so it's locked up for now. But it's not currently on Paramount, but the other Ninja Turtle TV shows are on Paramount. Anyway, but it's available on HBO Max. If you guys want to watch this movie, it's nice and short. You'll know what we're talking about. You can watch along. You can pause this, watch the movie, and then turn us back on, and you'll be caught right up, right?
Yeah.
Also, before we get properly started, we're on Twitch right now. Right now. We live stream, record all our podcasts now on Twitch on Monday nights, usually around 9 p.m., most Mondays. We're going to probably put some intermittent breaks in there. But right now, hey, we were on Monday number 5, right? We're going strong.
Yeah.
I think. Perks of being on Twitch, you can talk to us. We take breaks. We answer questions in the chat.
You can see us fuck up.
You can see us mess up. You can hear us burp. All that stuff gets cut out. There are times when we say things that are wildly incorrect, and then later I'm like, I'm just going to cut all of that out so we don't look like idiots. So if you want to see us be idiots and fuck up, come on Twitch, twitch.tv/filmsfrompz, Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, USA.
USA.
All right, let's get going. Also, there are time codes in the description, so if you want to jump around, you can do that. We talk about our initial expectations, the plot of the movie. We analyze the movie to the best of our ability. Then we do keep or cancel. We talk about the stars in the movie, and we decide if we're going to keep them or cancel them. And then we make a final decision on whether this goes into the Phantom Zone or not. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Shit we missed in the last episode. This is like our newest segment because every time we fuck up, I feel the need to fix it the next day. When we were talking about the Next Mutation TV show, I said that I think they recycled the costumes from these movies because they had recycled a lot of ideas from the movies, but brand new costumes that look so hideous. So hideous. They didn't recycle these. They should have. They should have just bought these, but they didn't do that. They also recreated the subway station. It's not the same set. I was also under the impression that they just use the same set.
Wouldn't it have been cheaper or would they have?
No, because they always tear these down. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they film these in different studios.
Okay.
So after they film a movie or a TV show, the set just gets torn down, scrapped for parts, and they build something else there. So okay, cool. Now we can move on properly. Initial expectations.
The very first time I saw this movie. And I did see this movie before, back when it came out in theaters. 14 years old, I went to see this movie because I remember liking, some Ninja Turtle stuff. And when I watched it, I was like, you know what? That movie, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So I kind of expected the same thing watching it this time. Like, it's just going to be an okay movie.
Okay, cool.
And that's about it.
Pretty much it.
Yeah.
If the year's 2007, then I was 18, probably. And I remember seeing this. I was so excited that this is a thing. It's not just a cartoon show, and that people maybe are going to come get excited. And this would be like a big Marvel scale event is what I wanted. Like I wanted all my friends.
It'd be like a big comeback.
Yeah, I wanted the theater to be filled with all my friends. We're all like suddenly Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle nerds. And that's not what happened, because I went to go see it with one friend, and she and I sat in an almost empty theater. Wow. And it was like opening week. And I was like, this sucks. Like, there's no energy here. People, I had to go and tell people, I was like,
in a quiet room.
Hey, this movie's going to be good. Like, come on, let's go watch it. And I don't remember what I thought of it, if I'm being honest. I just remember that hype. So I didn't know what to expect. I remember it was slightly more kiddie, but that's kind of all I remembered. So.
Okay,
let's get started on the plot. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Lawrence Fishburne. What a start. Narrates the origin of the Ninja Turtles as they jump from rooftop to rooftop, and of their defeat of Shredder. He continues to narrate that 3,000 years ago, a warrior and his 4 generals want to conquer all the kingdoms of the world. The warrior learns of the constellation of Kiken, and when the stars align, a portal to another dimension opens. It grants the warrior immortality, but his generals are turned to stone, and 13 monsters are released, who continue to plague the earth to this day. Ugh. What a stupid info dump, right? I don't know what you think about that, but...
It wasn't necessary.
Why narrate anything at all? Did we need this, intro?
Do we need to pay Morpheus to do this?
That's the other thing. He's not in this movie, let's be clear. Lawrence Fishburne, that's all he does. He narrates for 3 minutes, cashes his check, goes home. That's it.
You could have saved some money.
So why Lawrence Fishburne? Why do this? I feel like this kind of ruins the mystery of Max Winters, the character we meet in a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it just tells you straight up who he is.
Yeah. This sequence, if it was just placed later in the movie, would have been better.
Should be halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
When they figure out what happens, that's where this should be. Mm-hmm. Not here, right at the beginning, just kind of explains everything to you in a non-interesting way, just so that you learn it again later. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. Apparently there's a deleted opening where Splinter narrates. That would have been way better.
He narrates the whole warrior thing, or just about the turtles?
The opening. Okay. So I would
assume the opening, with the turtles, getting you kind of caught up on them, that's not terrible.
No, I understand that. Yeah. I don't like the 3,000 years ago stuff. And I'm also sick of all this stars align and then it opens a portal bullshit. I can't think of other examples, but I feel like there's a million of these, right?
It kind of goes under the whole prophecy thing almost, very similar.
Specifically stars aligning. Here's another thing that's confusing, because you're right. There's a part where when he explains who the turtles are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been how many years? 14 years since the last movie.
Yeah.
So there might be people here who didn't see those movies, and there might be people here who don't even know who the Ninja Turtles are, watching this for the first time. Kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that works.
It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been way better if Splinter did it, Especially since Splinter's voiced by Mako.
Yeah.
Incredible voice talent. Why not have him do it? When Lawrence Fishburne mentions Shredder, they cut away to a hand-drawn picture of Shredder, like a comic picture of Shredder. Weird. That was super weird, because why? This is already an animated style, so why show a different animated style, first of all? But why not... If you're going to cut to anything, why a still image? Seems like a PowerPoint. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, do you want people to think that this isn't related to the last ones? Or do you? Or do you want them confused the whole movie? Because that's what really happened, right?
Because people are like, is this the same thing?
Is that the same Shredder?
Because he looks different too.
Right, because it's a comic portrayal. Later on, we see Shredder's mask. And it is the mask from the movie. It's an animated version of the mask from the movie. It is very iconically that one. And that is one of those connecting threads. However, why not just put that in here now? Why not animate the end of the first movie?
That fight.
That fight. For just a 1 second clip of it.
Yeah.
Having Shredder fall off or whatever. And that's what you show.
Or
I
I guess you could have animated the end of the second movie where the doc falls on him.
I feel like there's more questions than answers there. Like Super Shredder just like hulking out.
Like, who's that?
All right, I need more explanation about this situation.
Yeah, Super Shredder is basically a different character. So.
Right. So, I don't know, man. Not a fan of a lot of this. People getting turned into stone, that's another trope. I feel like that happens all the time. I guess the only interesting thing here is the monsters that get released. The 13th monsters.
Like from the other dimension that they opened like the portal to. Yeah.
These are monsters that end up being like inspiring folklore.
Yeah.
And so it's like a gargoyle and Sasquatch and the Yeti and a Cyclops troll thing.
One of them was like a cute little one too.
That's the Jersey Devil.
Okay.
We're gonna get into. Have you heard of the Jersey Devil?
I've heard of the Jersey Devil.
It's like a Mothman thing, only in New Jersey.
Oh, they didn't have Mothman.
That one would have been good.
Yeah.
It would have been scary though. I mean, they could have kid up.
They could have made like one scary monster.
Yeah. In present-day Central America, a mercenary robs a village and is stopped in the jungle by Leonardo, who returns the goods to the village. A local kid catches a glimpse of Leonardo, who recounts his story to April O'Neil. They're on business in search of a 3,000-year-old artifact. Leonardo was sent to Central America to become a better leader, but has overstayed his training by a full year. April updates Leo on the status of his brothers.
I guess they're her brothers too.
Yeah,
at this
maybe.
point.
Yeah. Donatello is working at a dead-end IT tech support job. Michelangelo works as Cowabunga Carl, a birthday party entertainer with a fake mask to look like a fighting turtle.
Convenient.
It is, because he only wears
he just puts on
the
the
mask, and then he's got like a fake zipper that he slaps on his chest, so it looks like it's like his body's not real.
And he just gets beat up by kids.
Raphael sleeps all day, but unbeknownst to them, works at night as a masked vigilante, the Night Watcher.
I kind of like this, like getting us caught, like showing us where everybody's at now. This sequence was good.
And this is going to get us to like the main premise of this film is that there's a time skip. It's a time skip
There's
sequel.
a time skip and the family's like kind of broken up a little bit.
It's like the Beatles have broken up. Now what are we going to do? Right?
Yeah. Or like the Country Bears.
I don't know.
Nobody's seen that.
Is that the Disney movie?
Yeah.
No, that's Brother Bear.
The Country Bears is a Disney movie too.
Oh.
It's a stupid little bear that wants to get like this old band back together.
Oh boy. Okay.
It's not great.
What year is that from?
The movie I saw was from like early 2000s, but I'm pretty sure like the story's like older than that, because there's like a Country Bear jamboree section.
Yeah.
Like,
is that the same thing?
I think it's like the same thing. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. No, I enjoy the premise of this movie a lot, and I like. So it works that it is like this long-term sequel, the other movies, because at the same time, we talked about this before. How many iterations of the Ninja Turtles have we seen already?
Right.
There's a ton of them. Why do another origin and another Shredder story and just the same shit over and over again?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's nice that they can do something different and not have to waste time on like, oh, and there was a broken canister and yada, yada, yada.
It lets them do some nice character stuff too. You can focus more on the character rather than like redoing their origin,
Right. And it kind of makes them a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
Like in most versions of their origin, they start out at 15 because they're always like 15 years ago if this happened. So Turtles are 15 most of the time. You can kind of assume they're probably around 18, 19 at this point.
Right. Like,
and actually the director said so.
Basically like they're hitting adulthood at this
like
point.
4 or 5 years have passed almost.
Yeah.
Since, they became the Ninja Turtles.
And they've been broken up for, I would assume, more than a year. It's probably a couple years at this point.
Because they did say Leo had been gone a year longer than he was supposed to be.
And who knows how long he was supposed to be gone. Yeah.
So maybe 2 years that he's been missing.
Yeah.
I like the Cowabunga Carl bit. I think that's funny. Michelangelo doesn't have a whole lot in this movie.
Which kind of sucks.
Kind of sucked, yeah.
But he's a very lively character in this movie, though.
Sure, but he has like 3 lines. Like, it's not a lot. Even Donatello does more than he does, which is rare.
Donatello has quite a bit to say in this movie.
Yeah, he usually gets a short end of the stick. But this time it's Michelangelo.
Yeah.
And I understand in these movies in general,
someone is going to.
Yeah, it's hard to give them all equal screen time and make them all equally interesting.
Right.
When a lot of times it is Leo and Raphael.
It's always Leo and Raphael.
Yeah, they build most of the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in those last movies, like Turtles 3, It was a lot of
Mikey.
Michelangelo, and it was a lot of Raphael, and not a lot of Leonardo.
No.
So, Mikey arrives home to their sewer hideaway with no one present to welcome him. He sees Night Watcher on the news and gets nostalgic for his crime-fighting days. Donnie says those glory days are over and argues with Raphael. Raphael claims we're no team, and Donatello wants him to pull his weight and be productive, assuming he sleeps all day and does nothing else. Splinter emerges to lecture Donatello to recognize his brother's strengths and weaknesses and learn to compensate for each other.
In a way, this is like kind of how every Turtles movie starts. Like, Raphael's kind of being a dick, and Splinter's like, all right, guys, calm down.
Yeah. I like how Splinter, again, I've said this before, he always has the right thing to say to everybody, but he's not going to tell Donatello, like, hey, you're right, Raphael is a dick. He's going to say, what can you do to become a better person to deal with your brother?
Right.
You know, he's going to give Raphael...
Because he's not going to change who he is.
I mean, at least you can't make him.
Yeah.
He might have his own lecture with Raphael separate.
Yeah.
But he's at least going to tell Donatello, you know your brothers have strengths and weaknesses. You need to learn to compensate for those weaknesses.
Yep.
Which seems harsh.
But it's very true.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're right. If someone is a dick to you, what are you going to do about it? Like, sit there and complain? No. Maybe you can focus on yourself, and while they focus on themselves too. Yeah. And like we said, he's voiced by Mako. Mako died making this movie, by the way. We're going to get into this.
He died the day after they announced that he was in the movie.
Yes. So some of these lines are him, and some are that other guy. What's his name?
Can't remember his name, but it's a guy that impersonates his voice very well.
It's a voice actor who's very good at
He did the same thing in Avatar, too.
Yes. So this guy ended up becoming his voice double.
For like his roles that he was currently doing.
Greg Baldwin. Yep. So Greg Baldwin's replaced Mako in Avatar.
He replaced him in Book 3 of Avatar.
And Legend of Korra.
Yes.
And Samurai Jack. And this. I couldn't tell which lines were which.
Which is good.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
If you hear them out of context, you won't be able to tell because he does a really good job.
Right.
But if you put like Uncle Iroh lines from seasons 1 or 2 of Avatar next to him in season 3, you can hear the difference.
Yeah.
It's not spot on.
No.
But it's pretty close.
And that's only if you hear it like one right after the other.
You have to put them side by side, yeah.
In the context of watching the show, though, it's like you're not taken out of it at all.
I kind of liked also that Donatello seems to have to like fill in for Leonardo in putting Raphael in his place.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of like the peacekeeper.
Sort of. He's not a leader.
No.
But yeah.
Donnie definitely seems like the most mature turtle in this movie.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe altogether, yeah.
Yeah. He has a couple of good lines, too, and I think we'll talk about them when we get there.
I don't remember, but yeah. April arrives to New York City and calls Casey Jones, now her boyfriend, to pick her up and the artifact that she brought. He slept in because he's still fighting crime at night. They deliver the artifact, a stone statue of an ancient general, to Max Winters, the wealthy tycoon who seems to be very fond of the statue. As April and Casey leave, the Foot arrive by request, now led by Karai. Winters hires the Foot to, quote-unquote, welcome some friends. Casey Jones is back.
He's back. Voiced by Chris Evans?
Chris Evans, yeah. And April is voiced by Sarah Michelle Gellar. I would have thought that, like, you know, seeing this movie, they would just keep leaving him out, you know, because he still seems like just as problematic for kids as he was then, but he's in it.
I mean, they had him swinging his weapons.
Yeah, they're all swinging their weapons.
Actually, yeah, maybe because it's an animated movie.
Yeah,
maybe that's what he meant by things we wanted to do.
Want to beat people up with a hockey stick.
We want our characters to actually be allowed to fight, so it needs to be a cartoon.
Right. They're like boyfriend, girlfriend now, and they're like living together. So
it's about time.
Well, that's the thing. There's a time skip. So it's one of those things where it is kind of nice that we're living in the slight future, right? You can kind of evolve these characters a bit, right? Max Winters, the like executive wealthy tycoon guy,
is clearly the legendary warrior.
Right. Again, that prologue shouldn't have been there.
It basically spoiled the movie.
It spoils the whole movie, exactly. Voiced by Sir Patrick Stewart,
who does a pretty good job.
He's amazing. He's amazing at everything. Like
the voice cast in this movie is actually pretty damn good. Yeah.
And then Karai, she hasn't been in any of the last movies.
No, she was, I believe, from the comics.
Yes, and she's been in almost all the cartoons.
Okay.
And she was in the new movies, too.
Really?
Yeah. She's one of Shredder's, like, top lieutenants. And in a lot of cases, she's Shredder's adopted daughter.
Okay.
In some cases, she's Shredder's biological daughter.
Depends on the iteration.
Right. Again, there's been a million of them.
It's cool that they brought, like, this, like, kind of like OG character in from the comics.
Yeah, for sure. Also, these characters aren't whitewashed like they were before.
No, they're, like, actually Asian.
They're played by Asian voice actors, yeah. So she is played by...
Zhang
Zibi?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
She was in a bunch of stuff. She's kind of like,
She's
a while...
Chinese.
She was like
She was in Rush Hour 2.
Yeah, she was like one of China's, like, it girls.
Okay.
So she did Rush Hour 2, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Memoirs of a Geisha, a couple of things.
The Cloverfield Paradox.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters. That one I still haven't seen. I recognize her face, though. Not so much her voice. But when I see her face, I was like, oh, okay, you're in everything. Got it. Night Watcher runs into Casey Jones. So Night Watcher is that vigilante who is secretly Raphael. Night Watcher runs into Casey Jones, who immediately recognizes him as Raphael. I love that he's like, what do you mean you recognize me? He's like,
you look like a giant metal turtle.
Yeah. And who else? After catching some criminals, they confide in each other. Raphael claims to not miss Leo and insists to never stop fighting crime. Casey admits that he isn't ready to settle down with April and be someone he's not. Also hesitant to stop being a vigilante.
And while Casey's opening up to Raphael like is falling asleep.
Oh, yeah. I like the Night Watcher a lot. Like you buy that he would, assume another persona.
I think the armor looks kind of cool too.
Yeah, it don't look bad. He kind of looks like a
giant metal turtle.
Yeah, I was gonna say he looks like a turtle Iron Man, Iron Turtle.
But I looked up Night Watcher, and apparently that's also a character from the comics.
Oh yeah, I think I knew that.
And it's somebody that used to be the Night Watcher and wear armor, and then I guess he either died or retired, something like that. And he asked Raphael to take on that mantle for him.
Well, that's awesome that they took that from there then.
Yeah, this movie seemed to borrow a lot from like the comics.
Yeah,
and it made it a little bit more kiddie, but
yeah,
it's not like the worst thing though.
No, and I have a lot of opinions about, like, I feel like there's a battle going on here between the target audience and the kiddie stuff, and then what, like, the director wants to do.
Yeah.
I feel like he wants to do something that this movie wouldn't let him do.
Well, I was also reading something today, and I think it was the director. He was saying he wanted to capture the tone of the comics. Yeah,
I read something along those lines, too, yeah.
But I guarantee you, like, the studio was like, we need to market this to kids.
Right. And then we're going to get into that when we get to the analysis. Winters applies something to the Stone Generals to reanimate them. Leo returns to New York City, stowed away on a plane, and paraglides back to the sewers. The Turtles... That was pretty cool, honestly.
It was cool, but where did the glider come from?
Yeah, he just had it, I guess. The Turtles are sleeping, but Splinter is expecting him. Leonardo apologizes for failing his training, but Splinter suggests that he is much stronger now and ready to lead. He also tells Leonardo that his absence has been tough on his brothers, but most on Raphael, who downplays Leo's arrival.
This was a nice little scene, like when Leo like walks back and like into like their home, and he sees, I think it's Michelangelo sleeping on the couch, and he just like kind of smiles at him.
Yeah,
like he's really happy to see him. Yeah, and Raphael like wakes up. I think Donnie. He wakes up one of them and he's like, "Hey, Leo's home. Say hi to him before he leaves again."
Like he's obviously jaded, and Splinter's right. Like it's hardest on him. But I hate all of the Winters doing stuff with stuff. So like
him doing
this
stuff
whole
with
plot,
stuff.
and we're gonna get into it. But this whole plot of like the ancient generals and the portal and the stars aligning, and all, it's stupid. I think because it's so far out into sci-fi and fantasy without grounding it in any sort of way that you can say anything. Yo, I've got these stone generals. Let me put this little contraption I made to reanimate them. Defeats the purpose of them being like turned to stone.
Right.
You know? Oh, well, yeah, it's been 3,000 years before he could invent this technology, I guess.
But he knew what to do?
But like, why? You know what I mean? Like, just to have more villains in the movie, or to have... Spoiler, like the real villains of the movie.
Right.
Of these stone generals.
I did like how his whole relationship with like his generals was kind of mirrored to like the Turtles' relationship, like this whole like broken family type thing. But it wasn't executed super well.
No, not at all. Because I didn't get that until you mentioned it. I was like, oh, yeah,
that
is what they did.
That is what they did. It's like kind of like a dark mirror of the Turtles.
Sure, yeah, of course. And they sort of mention that towards the end when they're fighting.
Maybe for like a second.
Yeah. But again, like, why turn to stone? Why reanimate them? Defeats the purpose of being turned to stone. Like, 13
why
monsters.
Why did it take 3,000 years to do it?
Why 3,000 monsters? Or why 13 monsters? Because why not? You know, they can just say whatever they want. They can do whatever they want because the whole premise is nonsense. Yeah. Like, there's no rules to their own fantasy that they're creating here. So I don't like any of that. All the Turtles stuff just feels real. Yeah. It's like real relationships. It's acted very well. I feel like I'm jumping ahead to like the analysis. I'm going to try to stick to this part. But like you said, I love when Leonardo gets there and he just seems so happy and relieved to see his brothers.
Seems like
again.
A genuine like moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's like falling into like there's a lot of cool stuff and there's a lot of not so cool stuff.
Shit. The reunited Turtles meet on a rooftop to train, where Leo expresses concern about the Night Watcher. They hear a roar from a construction site nearby and investigate against Leo and Splinter's orders to stay put. They find a giant Yeti-looking monster fighting the Foot. The Ninja Turtles intervene. Leonardo fights Karai, who leads them to fight the monster alone. Cornered, they're saved by the 4 reanimated stone generals who capture the monster. So this first action sequence.
Yeah, this is like the first like real action sequence of the movie.
And it's good.
It is.
I just wish they weren't fighting a giant monster and then 4 statues didn't come save. You know what I mean? It's too fantasy for me, but it is cool.
There's a nice little chase in there.
Yeah. It's really well shot, for lack of a better word, and kind of choreographed action.
And then like Leo starts fighting Karai and he's like very confused why the Foot are back.
The implication is that they know who Karai is. Karai and Leo are like supposed to be rivals.
Right. So maybe during like this entire like this whole time skip between like Turtles 3 and this, maybe she stepped up in Splinter's absence. Or Shredder's absence.
Right. Yeah, I've done that a million times. Shredder, Splinter.
The names are so similar.
Yeah. Yeah, for our first action scene, it is, I mean, the action's good. The action is really good in this movie. Almost impressive. Because when you hear, oh, instead of live action, we're going to do animated. Like, your first thought is like, well, the Kung Fu's not going to be good anymore.
But it is good.
Yeah, that's one thing that they did really well. And that's why I think this is a good director who's just been given a bad script. But and it was genuinely exciting, honestly. There's a lot going on. I'm not sure how I feel about like the Foot just being reduced to like the helpers, like
mercenaries almost,
sort of just like people for hire. But they even make a joke about it. Like the guy says, like, "Oh yeah, like I'm sorry that the Great Foot have been reduced to this." Back home, Leonardo lectures Raphael on following orders. The two argue, but everyone shuts up as Splinter walks in. He casually goes to the TV to watch Gilmore Girls when the news comes on and Splinter yells at the boys. He lectures them on the importance of not resurfacing because they are not ready, but Raphael leaves. I thought that was really funny. That's a good gag.
And the part after this is actually when Donnie has that line of like, because they're just kind of sitting in silence. And then like Leo just like gets upset. He's like, why do we need Raphael anyway? He just messes everything up. And then Donnie's like, well, nobody was talking about Raphael, but okay.
Oh yeah. I think that's way later in the movie, but yeah. And here's a problem we're going to get to in a little bit. There's too many scenes that are very similar in this.
Yeah.
There's like 3 instances where they argue about why they shouldn't go up to the surface and Raphael leaves. And they just kind of recycle the same.
I'm upset.
Yeah, they recycle that same kind of mini plot point. This movie is, like I said, it's got a lot of great stuff in it. It's not as funny as some of the other ones, I think.
It takes itself a bit seriously, actually.
But some of the other movies did too, and you could still insert jokes,
right?
Because the characters are jokey. That is who they are.
Yeah,
and it works. Like in the very first movie, the first movie is serious in a lot of places, but it's also really funny in a lot of places too.
True,
and not just like Michelangelo, being the comic relief, but just in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I did love that Splinter has like a favorite kind of TV show.
He likes Gilmore Girls.
He's like, they're gonna break up. I know it.
And he's like excited to watch it.
Yeah. And they're all just like angrily eating their cereal, looking at each other while Splinter walks by.
Very like brother thing.
Yeah. Right. That's why I like it. Winters and the Foot wrangle up more monsters. Raphael and Casey try to find the monsters themselves and witness the Foot and the Stone Generals capture the gargoyle monster. It's not an actual
gargoyle monster.
It's a gargoyle-looking monster because gargoyles
are statues.
Gargoyles are not creatures, they're statues. Casey recognizes the statue he delivered, gets their attention, and they attack.
He gets their attention by mistake.
Right. They don't attack them. The generals attack Casey. I wrote that like a dumbass. A tranquilizer dart hits Raphael. Unconscious at April's, the rest of the turtles come to check on him. They find a stone ninja star stuck in Raphael's shell. April recounts the legend of the generals and their leader and wonders, what if this warrior just kept living forever? He would spend the rest of his days in regret, spending all of his riches and all of his powers to find a way to revive his stone generals. Maybe, just maybe, he's built a new empire. Holy shit, April, that's a hell of an assumption.
It's almost like she has experience being immortal.
It's almost like
what?
She fucking read the script of this movie. She just spells it out on the first guess.
Like, does she think about being immortal often? And she's like, oh, if I was immortal, I would just hate it. And I would just use all my money towards one purpose.
First of all, this is the part of the movie
where the intro should have been.
Yes. So I don't know how. I'm not saying.
Well, she could have been like, oh, you know, Max Winters told me this story.
Or I got this book in South America. I don't know. Because the legend is from the Central America area where she was. That's why she says she knows this legend, because they told her that. But the fact that she's like, what if he just kept on living forever? Then you figure it out who it is, right?
Right.
And at this point, I couldn't tell if they solved it that quickly. Do they know it's Winters?
I don't think so.
'Cause then they're stupid. Because if she's smart enough to put this together and not see who it is.
They do end up going to his place, though.
I think they do figure it out. I think that's how quickly they figure it out.
Well, Casey also knew it was the statue that they delivered to him, so...
Exactly.
Yeah. No, if they don't figure it out, they're fucking morons.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing I do like here, I like when she's saying this, they're showing Max Winters in his, like, kind of trophy room. And he's got statues, busts of, like, great leaders from the past, from, like, one looks like Caesar. Yeah. One looks like Napoleon. One looks like a George Washington type, just by their clothes and stuff. But they're all his face. And the implication would be that he's been
he was these great leaders, both on like the good and bad side of history. Just
like this is how he spent the last 3,000 years.
Good thing they didn't put a statue of Hitler. That would have been terrible.
Damn, imagine.
That would have been a little too dark for this movie, I think.
I even had thought, I'm like, maybe he wasn't literally Caesar and like literally, George Washington,
he was
obviously.
Around like in colonial times and in...
Yeah, he was some warrior, some leader, second in command, some other guy, right?
And that's assuming he was fighting this whole time. He could have just been like, you know what, I'm going to be wise and just build up a business.
Yeah. As far as our fantastical elements, I mean, in this movie, I feel like this would have been enough for me. Just, there's an immortal guy. What's he up to? Maybe there's a curse, but it's not this so like, oh, these monsters popping out and stone generals coming back to life and talking and walking and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had just been kind of like
they went
just
a little
this guy.
far with it.
Yeah, I would have been fine with just this new villain. Maybe he's not a villain, whatever. This guy who's been living through time, King the Conqueror style, like just
who's coming to Marvel, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine with me, but yeah, they took it too far. In light of their new information, Leonardo still refuses to act without Splinter's blessing, following his orders to stay put. Raph angrily leaves to take matters into his own hands as the Night Watcher. Like earlier, exactly. It's the same exact little plot point. Donatello studies the star charts and textbooks, learning that when the stars align within the next 24 hours, the portal will send in monsters that will destroy the world in a matter of weeks. Meanwhile, the Stone Generals learn that Winter's plan is to end the curse and their immortality and has lost the will for conquest.
So we have a repeat of like the brotherly drama.
Yeah, when I was typing this out, I was like, wait a second, this already happened. And I realized it's the same thing in two different scenes, in two different settings.
Yeah.
Where they're like, all right, now what do? We learned some new information. We got to go do something about it. And Leonardo's like, no. And Raphael was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to go do it myself. That happens twice.
This happens in the live action movies too.
Oh, it happened in the second one.
In the second one.
Yeah.
Because he goes out with Kino.
Yes.
I almost said Kano.
Yeah, he does the same thing here. Yeah, he goes out with Kino instead of in this one it's Casey.
It's Casey, yeah.
Whoa. And it's too much of this kind of like plot dump bullshit where Donatel's like, all right, well, here's what's going to happen. Stars are going to align. There's going to be a portal, and then more monsters are going to come. So we have the Stone Generals. That's one thing. We got the Immortal Winters. That's another thing. We have the 13 monsters that they have to return. That's a third element.
It's a lot
but
at the same time.
If they don't do it, then there's going to be a slew of monsters in addition coming out. That's a fourth weird element. You know what I mean? It's like, and then how do they know just by reading a couple books? They're like, all right, we have this whole curse thing figured out. This thing that's like not well documented.
Because Donatello's a genius.
But it's just too much. There's a word for this, but it's I don't know what it is. But it's basically like a plot that's so kind of like made up that you could easily just take it in any direction, or you can easily just kind of like, you know, write things to cover it up. It's just, it still doesn't hold water for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see that.
When did we talk about this? Where you were talking about little kids playing pretend, where they're like, all right, but now these are the rules.
That was during Elektra, when like the bad guys' powers were just whatever they needed it to be at the time.
Yeah. That's kind of like what's
it's
happening
like, oh,
here.
now this guy can read minds.
You're right. And with here, now it's like, okay, well, actually, if we don't close the portal, more monsters are going to come out, and then we're all going to die. But and there's going to be one more element later on that also bothers me. Raphael as the Night Watcher responds to a sighting of the last monster at a diner. The monster, the Jersey Devil, is too fast and chaotic and gets away, just as Leonardo encounters him. Night Watcher tries to run away to lose Leo, but the two end up on a rooftop. Leo tells him to stop crime fighting, although he appreciates his intentions, or else. Again, this is Night Watcher. Leo doesn't know it's Raph.
Yeah.
Raph sees this as a good excuse to let out his frustrations against Leo, and they start to fight. Leo gets the upper hand because, according to him, the Night Watcher's anger consumes him and he loses focus. He knocks his mask off and discovers it's Raphael. So we were talking about the Jersey Devil. Yeah. That's that's like a little like a folklore monster from New Jersey, from like back in like the 1700s. There's all kinds of legends about it. It's really interesting. And even though Mothman's like really new. Mothman's like less than 100 years old.
Yeah.
It's from like the 60s or something.
60s, maybe I think 70?
Yeah. It's very new. Yeah, so Jersey Devil, and it's like this tiny little devil. It's what the New Jersey Devils are based on.
Yeah.
That's like their mascot. But interesting too, the guy in the diner guy, that's voiced by Kevin Smith, who went uncredited. I think he just wanted to be in this movie, you know? And so I think they put him in the scene with the Jersey Devil specifically because he's from Jersey.
Okay.
And like all his movies are about New Jersey.
That's a
basically.
fun
little connection.
Yeah. Kevin Smith seems to be connected to like just a lot of nerdy shit.
He's the biggest nerd there is. Leo and the Night Watcher. I'm surprised he didn't just figure that out right away. Again, like Casey Jones is like, okay, you're clearly Raphael.
Yeah.
But it's more dramatic this way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes a bit tense after this too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like this is like one of the better moments I think of all the Ninja Turtles movies coming up right now when they
Yeah.
This
whole going into the next scene, it's the top moment of this movie by far.
Yeah.
And yeah, it might
be a top franchise moment, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Raphael does not apologize for crime fighting in Leo's absence, and that he's better off on his own. Leo argues that Raph isn't mature enough. He's hot-headed and impatient. Raphael pulls out his sais and threatens to fight properly. The two fight in the rain until they lock their weapons. Raphael breaks Leonardo's swords and defeats him. He knocks Leo down and attacks very close to Leo's face. Raph sees the fear he's caused Leo and runs away, ashamed of himself. As he leaves, the Stone Generals abduct Leo, using him as a placeholder for the 13th monster to foil Winter's plan. Raph realizes Leo has been taken.
And to his credit, he turns around and tries to sprint back.
Yeah, he realizes it pretty quick. He had run away like a couple rooftops.
But this is a very intense fight between them.
You say this is a top moment for you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like just this fight between them on the rooftop, the kind of like almost like a heartbreak type moment when Raphael realizes he went too far.
Yeah. It almost seemed like, did he intend on stabbing Leo? Did he intend on like putting the side there? Did it get there on accident?
He was like way too angry to even control himself anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he realizes like, and I said fear, and I'm not sure if Leonardo looked that scared, but he at least looked disappointed that it got there.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit scared.
Like, hey,
honestly.
that was about to kill me.
Yeah.
Also, he broke his weapons and just left them disarmed on a roof.
Yeah. There's some really good facial expression animation in this moment.
Especially for, like, a movie that came out at that time and was, like, kind of animated on the cheap.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see, like, Raphael's face go from, like, angry to kind of, like, nervous to, like, then he realizes what he's done and now he's, like, in shock.
Yeah.
And then, like, disappointment. All that just plays out in his face, and it's really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the facial tracking they did there is really good. And maybe that's what the director was saying, like, we can't do that kind of emotion.
With a costume.
With the costumes that they had at the time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if they had built something in 2007, maybe it would have been better, but it also would have been expensive and maybe still not that good.
And the studio probably would have been like, that's too much money.
Yeah. But even so, like, yeah, there's no way you're capturing those kinds of emotions.
No.
On one of those masks.
And just, like, it was such a good moment in this movie.
Yeah. This whole scene is executed top down very, very, very well.
And I like the way Leo just kind of dunks on Ralph after he tells him that he's, like, hot-headed and impatient. And he goes, and most importantly, I'm better than you.
Yeah. That. I felt that. Like, that was good. Because it's not something that he should say, but it's something that someone would say.
Right.
You know, like, someone in their position,
they were both having their moment of weakness here.
Yeah, because as a leader, like, yeah, that's not what he should be saying if he wants to take his leadership seriously. So they're in the rain, and later on we're going to talk about, like, animation, cinematography, and all this stuff, and the voice actors and everything. But this scene is just, it looks beautiful. The rain effects, the water effects on their skin is amazing. The way it's lit, the way it's shot. There's some really good long shot fights. There's a slight kind of shake in the camera whenever their punches hit. As if
to give the feeling of, like, impact.
Yeah, as if there was a real camera there that really got pushed around by the impact of their blows.
No,
you know,
like you were saying, this director he knows what he's doing.
I really think he does. Yeah, and I feel like he got kind of the short end of the stick. I want to see
movie. If has he directed anything else.
Yes, and we're gonna watch one of his movies. And maybe we can do it.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a bad thing because it's not supposed to be a good movie. It's Dylan Dog, Dead at Night, with Brandon Routh.
Oh man,
we might have to bump that one up just to kind of see these side by side.
Yeah,
and the acting. These voice actors are James Taylor Arnold and Nolan North, who you would know from both everything.
They're in everything.
Yeah, Nolan North has been Batman a couple times, or like Robins and Jokers.
Nathan Drake.
Yeah, a lot of video games.
Nolan North
DC
is in
stuff.
like almost every video game.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then James Taylor Arnold has been in a lot of animation stuff.
He's Obi-Wan Kenobi in Clone Wars.
Kenobi.
And Rebels.
Right. Yeah. And Rebels. He's done a couple other things, too. Like big picture things.
He's in a lot of big, like, animated franchises.
Yeah. Voice actors. I've seen him twice, public speaking.
I saw him public speak once at Disney, actually, during, like, one of the Star Wars weekends.
Yeah, Star Wars weekend. So you saw the same show that I did.
Oh, probably.
Where he talks about, like, he had, like, throat cancer or something.
Yeah.
And, like, they told him, like, you're never going to speak. You're going to lose your...
And he's like, my voice is me.
Yeah. And then he overcame that. And we should fucking do him for Keeper Cancel. I didn't even write him down.
He's pretty cool.
But a little mini Keeper Cancel here. And then...
Keep him, obviously.
Yeah. No, he got healthy and then just launched his voice acting career.
Yeah.
And then he did, like, a showcase where he did, like, 100 voices. And he mimicked, like, famous voices. Like celebrities, cartoon characters.
The man's talented.
And then he kind of drew a line between all of them. Like, if you make this voice a little bit higher, you get Homer Simpson. If you change the timbre a little bit, you get, like, this character. And
he's
then
like
he just breaking
down how voice acting works, basically.
It's crazy. That being said, like, I did recognize his voice. I'm like, oh, he kind of sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi here.
Just without the accent.
Yeah, right. But Nolan North does a great job as Raphael. He really kind of, like, nails that. What Raphael, that New York kind of gruffness, like you said, it's what Raphael should sound like. You know what I mean? Like, you just know, if you hear the Four Turtles, you know that's him. So
he's the rude one.
He's cool but rude. No, but also, like, amazingly how they acted the scene. This is just like you said, it might be a franchise highlight. And it's one of those things I think works better since this is like a sequel to other movies, and you're supposed to go in with knowledge of the Ninja Turtles as a whole already, even if it's not those movies.
Right.
You know who these characters are beforehand. You know that like they usually don't get along, and this is like the culmination of all of that. Just years of them bickering to its breaking point.
Literally.
Yeah, to the katana's breaking points. Yeah, good stuff. This is such a good scene. Okay, so Splinter tells Raphael he has the traits of a great leader, but lacks the compassion that Leo has. Raphael admits that he lost Leo, and Splinter says now is the time to resurface. Casey and April suit up to join the fight. First of all, they've been resurfacing this whole time, Splinter.
Yes, but without Splinter's approval.
Right. I like what he tells Raphael here, too. Again, Splinter's just the best. He's the best dad. He's the best sensei. Because he tells him, you're great as you are. You have these great traits. You're passionate, like you're strong. He says some other things. And he's like, those are great things. You shouldn't be ashamed of those things.
Right.
But you have to understand that a great leader could be those things, but he's also compassionate. Yeah. And that's why it's Leo. It's not that Leo's better than you, even though... And I like that he said, because I think Splinter said something like that he's not necessarily better or something like that. Because, yeah, that is what Leo said.
Suited for this particular role.
Because I think that's what stuck with Raph the most. That's what got under his skin, is when Leo's like, I'm just better than you.
Yeah.
Because they are kind of rivals.
Yeah. And it was a good dunk on him. That's what, I think that was, the tipping point that just pissed him off.
Yeah. A little kind of subplot that's barely touched on is Casey Jones keeps losing his masks. He loses like 2. And so April gets him a
clumsy fuck.
Yeah, April gets him a new one for the third act.
It looks like a metal one too.
It looks badass. And he's like wearing like a little bit of armor too. He's not just going out in a t-shirt.
And he has is it a caddy bag? Yes. Just full of hockey sticks. And golf clubs. And April has like a ninja outfit.
She like got a ninja outfit.
Like it kind of looks like
Asia or something.
The lady from Kill Bill.
A little bit. It's yellow.
It's like a yellow jumpsuit, and then she has like the katana.
And I think that's why it's yellow. It's because she wears yellow or whatever.
And I guess she learned how to fight in Japan.
The Foot secure Winter's tower, and Winters prepares himself as the stars align and make a light vortex down to the tower. The machine does not work because Leonardo is not the 13th monster. The Stone Generals betray Winters. So, giant light coming down from the sky. It's... It's a trope. It's such a fucking trope. It's in every single fucking movie. In this movie's defense, it's in a lot of movies after this movie came out.
That's true.
Avengers and Suicide Squad and Godzilla and another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I think they do it again.
Did they do it in the first?
In the 2014 one, I think there's a light in the sky. There's just always a light in the sky, man.
It looks cool.
I mean, sure, once. In Superman, Man of Steel, there's a light in the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
I did like how this is kind of the point that shows that, like, Winters isn't really a villain at all. He's actually, in a weird way, he's the hero of this story.
He's trying to make things right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this shows it because he's trying to convince his generals, like, hey, this is the right thing to do. Yeah. And they're like, fuck you, man. You're weak.
Then he shouldn't have reanimated them.
Yeah. Did he assumed they would help him?
I guess.
Also, that's his family. I guess he missed them.
Sure. Outside the tower, the remaining turtles, Casey, April, and Splinter, fight their way through the foot soldiers. They infiltrate the tower and trigger a lockdown.
It was cool seeing Splinter out on the field.
This is a really good little shot. It's a one-shot fight, so the camera doesn't break. It just follows the action really well. Yeah. And it's the 3 turtles, April, Casey, and Splinter. So there's 6 of them. And they're all fighting
a shit ton of foot
soldiers. Yeah. First of all, April would not be holding her own against the Foot. Those are trained ninjas, and she's just been taking.
She has some training.
She's been taking like classes or something. No, I don't feel like she would have been.
Casey probably wouldn't be holding his own against all of them either.
Maybe, but maybe not.
He might get like 1 or 2 of them. He'd get a few good hits in, but surrounded by ninja.
They're a foot ninja, exactly. And they seem very competent in this.
Oh, they're not like the stupid teenagers.
No, they seem like they know what the fuck they're doing.
Like they're like actual ninja now? Yeah.
They're like fast and quiet. And...
They use smoke pellets.
Right. I got real cool Matrix vibes here because there's a scene in the Matrix, not the lobby scene, but later on they cut back to Neo and Trinity, and they're just on a rooftop fighting a bunch of people.
Oh, all the agents?
Yeah, and it just kind of, well, they're not agents, I think they're security, because they can barely keep up with agents. But
That's true.
it just cuts to them. They're like already in the fight. And it just kind of goes from there. And I don't know if that's inspiration or whatever, but like...
It could be.
I really do like this little scene. So again, and there is a lot of good choreography. They release Leonardo, and Raph apologizes, calling him their leader and giving him a new set of katanas. Cornered by the Stone Generals, the Turtles, and Cry with the Foot, Winters admits that his actions haven't been for dominance, but for penance. Cry says that they fight with honor and have promised to work with Winters. She and the Foot will go catch the last monster. The Turtles fight the Stone Generals while more beasts come out from the portal. Casey, April, and Cry lure the monster into chasing them, and it falls into the portal, knocking the Stone Generals in with it. How very convenient, right?
I do like the whole, like, they're working with the Foot now, the whole, like, enemy of my enemy is my friend type deal. I do like when stories do that.
Yeah, that was fine. Especially because there's a part where she's riding in the van with them. It's just like one foot
soldier and her in the back.
And Casey and April are like arguing while driving the van.
Yep, and she's like, you'd think they'd be more concerned about the monster. And then the camera like pans out and the monster's like chasing the van.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun little bit. Like, yeah. But it was a couple times that the Stone Generals keep on asking Karai for like support, and she's like, no, we're honorable, and we already made our deal. We can't break it.
She's already a lot more honorable than Shredder. I feel like Shredder would be like, all right.
At least from like the second movie where he's just kind of like this villain.
And angry. Well, he didn't have honor in the first one either.
Yeah, a little bit more maybe. Yeah, you're right. So convenient that like all the generals like line up in front of the portal as the monster is coming in, bulldozes them all in, movie's over, right?
It was just an easy way to get rid of them.
And I feel like that's what it is, and we talked about this, where it seems like the movie seems to be made more by the time frame. Like, it's got to be an hour and a half with credits. Yeah. Therefore, how do you wrap this up?
You have to wrap this up quickly at this point, yeah.
Right. Because the last fight doesn't really last very long.
No.
Like this last bit of the movie is very quick.
It all happens within like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. And I'm glad, if that be the case, I'm glad that they put the time in the good scene with Raphael and Leonardo.
They did, because that was an amazing fight. That was the best fight in the movie.
And it was very well paced. It wasn't rushed, like kind of the rest of this film. But then the end, therefore, has to be rushed. And they have to clean up this messy plot that they made.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to get the 13th monster. It's got to line up. They got to go in the portal. Then the stone guys also have to go in the portal. I don't think they have to go to the portal. They could have stayed out. They could have stayed out,
but they just want to get rid of them.
They would have been, because they're the bad guys.
Yeah, they would have been trying to kill everybody.
They would have been cured and gone back to normal, I think. I think
that's how it works.
Because
Winters becomes like normal
for a second, right? So why is just like, okay, here's the bad guys.
Just get rid of all the bad guys.
Yeah, just real quick. Got to do it right now. Again, there's no like meaning in these characters and setting up this big over convoluted like rules to the plot. Right.
They could have simplified this a lot by not having the monsters and just have his generals being the villains of the movie, and they have to stop them.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
And you still have the whole like family conflict within the villains as well.
Sure, yeah.
With Winters in them.
Or not have any of them, and Winters is the bad guy.
I like that he wasn't the bad guy, though.
Sure, but he could have been a kind of like empathetical bad guy or sympathetical bad guy. Like you feel bad for him. You feel like in his mind he's doing the right thing. Maybe he's trying to end the curse.
But in order to do so,
portal. There's I don't know. He has to do a thing, and the turtles can't let him.
Something that's bad,
right? And the turtles will not let him.
Okay.
Anything else, but I feel like a lot of this plot stuff, I just feel like they're trying to sell toys. Because
I guarantee you that's what they're
13 unique monsters, 4 unique stone people.
They were very obviously trying to sell toys.
You know what I mean? Like, by having all these extra characters, it's just so much less time with... There could have been a much more meaningful conflict with Winters and the Turtles. The Turtles and Karai and Winters. There's just so many characters thrown in an hour 26 minutes with credits.
There's a lot in this movie. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Karai says to the Turtles to savor their victory for now, for later they will have new business with familiar faces from their past, implying that she will somehow resurrect the Shredder, I guess.
I mean, that's kind of what the Turtles kind of allude to. They're a little confused about it, too. And she's like, what does she mean?
Right. Winters realizes he's mortal now and disintegrates into nothing. Back in the sewer hideout in Splinter's quarters, Splinter places Winter's warrior helmet in a shrine to their past accomplishments. Rachel appears... Rachel? What?
Raphael?
In fairness, it's one letter away from Rachel. Raphael appears with his Night Watcher helmet to add on to the shrine, followed by Michelangelo offering his Cowabunga Carl mask.
All right. The scene where Michelangelo is standing there holding the Cowabunga Carl mask is actually really funny. Something about his face while he's holding it.
He's so over
He's just standing there like smiling. He's like, can I add this to the shrine too?
Because Raphael's like, I'm giving this up.
This is very symbolic.
Yeah, it's symbolic of like their past. Like enemies they've encountered, things that they've given up. And Michelangelo's like, no, but me too. Because I don't want to be Cowabunga Carl anymore.
And he's just got like the stupidest smile on his face while he's holding it.
Yeah. So before we get into the shrine, because that's like one of the more interesting parts of this whole movie, Winters. And I'm trying to follow the logic of this movie. And I'm like, okay, so he's now mortal and he's going to age normally and live his life. And the second I thought that, he just disintegrates into nothing.
I thought he was going to... He's already lived for thousands of years at this point.
Yeah, but he was immortal for thousands of years.
That's true. But I think his whole thing was like, I'm ready to die. Like,
yeah, but, okay, that's fine, but it's like one more
life
element. Like one more mystical plot element that we didn't know about. That, now he's going to... they're just making up the rules as they go along.
That didn't surprise me when it happened.
It just disappointed me too. Because it just feels like it's less for his character.
I hope he had a will written out to someone.
Oh, seriously. Well, he was always expecting that. Like, his plan worked. He wanted this to happen.
He wanted this, maybe not in this way.
Yeah, but the turtles were probably a surprise.
Yeah. Well, there's a point where he's like, I must have hit my head pretty hard because I see some giant turtles.
Yeah. Again, he shouldn't be surprised by this. You've seen crazier.
You've seen a bunch of monsters from another dimension, but giant turtles surprise you.
And you're an immortal being who's lived throughout history as different leaders. But then the shrine is like the only connective tissue, really, other than like that the movie is set.
Well, it's very solid connective tissue too.
Yes, because this movie being set years after the Turtles have already had most of their adventures, and now they broke up, and now they're kind of getting back together. Like, there have been other movies to do something like that, and that doesn't make it a sequel. It just means there's past built into the movie.
Right.
That's all that means. Here, in their shrine, they have items from all the other movies.
And they look exactly like them.
Exactly. And
which means someone painstakingly created that model.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty cool. So the shrine, because I had to look it up because I'm like, I know there's stuff I'm missing here because it's got a lot of objects.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a little... one of those like find all these objects in the room thing.
Yep.
Mad Magazine type. Okay, so the shrine in Splinter's room holds the TGRI canister that we see in the second movie. And again, like you said, it looks specifically like that one.
It's cracked and everything.
Yeah. The first movie Shredder's helmet and his staff. I didn't notice his staff. I think it's off to the side and you see it in a different angle, but that's what I got this all from like Turtlepedia. A live action movie Foot Ninja's mask.
So like the ones that like the teenagers are wearing.
Yes, which looks different than the one that they're using now.
Well, yeah, now they look like real ninja. They have like red eyes.
They have like red eyes. Yeah, they look more badass. But there's a mask from their previous mask is there too.
Okay.
The time scepter from the third movie. Walker's hat. I didn't see the hat, but it says it's there.
Huh.
Like his little like fancy little cowboy hat.
Yeah, they took it.
Exactly. And also, like we said, the time travel mechanic, you can't take clothes with you. So, not sure how they got that. Also, a helmet and a mask that the Turtles wore in the third movie that they also didn't bring back with them, but it's there. And that one's very clear. I don't know if you saw it.
Is that the one that's like hanging up on
It's
the wall?
on the top right, but then the helmet's on the top left.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to link a picture.
Yeah.
Because it's got a lot of objects. Lord Norinaga's armor and helmet from that movie also. That's off to the right. It's like a helmet with big horns.
Maybe they just went to wherever that site was in the present day and just stole it.
They broke into whatever museum was holding the artifacts from 1593 Japan, that one time that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles foiled their plan.
Maybe they were feeling nostalgic.
But those are things from the movies, because there's some more stuff. There's some Mouser parts. So Mousers are these little droids that the Turtles fight in most iterations, except for these movies. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're like tiny
in like the 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like little chicken droids.
Yeah.
With big mouths, little big beaks. Apparently there's some of those here. So
Okay.
like alluding to a past that we just didn't see.
Yeah.
Right. There's also a Triceraton space helmet. So that's a bit more of a deeper cut. The Triceratons are an alien race that the turtles encounter in also most iterations. But funny enough, the Triceraton itself, they're humanoid Triceratops. And so the helmet, it's like a space helmet. It's got three holes for the horns to go into.
Okay.
Because I had stared at it for a while. I'm like, what the fuck
What
is
is that?
It has to be important if it's in the shot. It's not just garbage.
Yeah.
You know?
No, everything on the shelf has a purpose.
Right. The Triceraton apparently is the first thing that Eastman and Laird wrote together.
Okay.
So like they made other comics, they just didn't like sell them. But there's a picture I'm gonna link below of it, like their first Triceraton drawing that became like the logo of Mirage Comics for a minute.
That's
a couple
cool.
years before they actually did Ninja Turtles. And also Master Splinter's robe from the first 3 movies, because he has like a black robe that's just sitting there. Because his new robe has like these cool shoulder spiky things.
Yeah, it's a very elegant robe.
Yeah. And I also noticed, they didn't mention it, but I noticed, so Shredder in the first movie, he's got the little like spikes on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And on his forearms, but he wears a glove with 2 long spikes.
That he uses to shred things.
Exactly. Like Wolverine style.
Yeah.
And you can see it because there's a scene where they put it on his hand, remember?
Yeah.
That's in the corner too.
His glove is?
The glove with the 2 little spikes. Yeah, I should bring up the picture, but... So this is cool. I like this little...
This is like a very like almost like Marvel Easter egg type scene.
Very heavy on the Easter eggs. Yeah, I like that a lot. Again, it tells us for sure, explicitly, this is connected to those other movies.
Yeah.
Even though like plot-wise... maybe not.
Loosely,
yeah. And you could...
Like, you don't have to have seen the other movies to get this movie. And I think they did that on purpose.
But you could also say this is a sequel to, like, any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing. Almost. You know what I mean?
It's kind of in, like, a weird bubble.
It's just kind of like the Turtles are no longer doing their thing. They kind of broke apart.
Yeah.
Casey and April. Like, it's not really... picking up on
It can
hard
piggyback off of almost any Turtles iteration to create its own new iteration of the Turtles.
Pretty much. So, I mean, this is by definition a soft reboot. This is as soft reboot as it gets.
It's also technically a sequel.
It is nice to see like these very specific things. Because I mean
especially the Time Scepter.
The Time Scepter, right? Because Shredder exists in all of them, and the canister exists in all of them. But that Time Scepter is original. Yeah. So right there, we're like, that's
very specific to this universe.
Right. But even Shredder's helmet is the exact Shredder's helmet from the first movie.
Yeah, everything from the old movies is made to look exactly like it did in the old movies.
Which kind of, again, brings me back to the first thing we said, is why show that comic drawing of Shredder at the beginning?
Yeah.
PowerPoint style, when you could have animated like the end of that first movie
make it
or
even
something.
more like concretely connected.
Yeah, and that way you're not wondering the whole movie, and then at the very end you're like, oh, they are connected.
Here's the thing though, if you haven't seen any other movies, you're gonna be like, what the hell's all this stuff?
Yeah, you probably won't even notice.
It'll just be like, oh, that's just stuff from their past.
So that's the movie. It pretty much ends there, yeah.
And it does almost end like they're trying to set up sequels, and I think they were trying to set up sequels.
They were. There's going to be 2 more sequels.
This was going to be like its own trilogy of the Turtles.
Yes. Do you want to hear about the sequels?
Yeah, because I think I saw that they were going to work on some, but then something happened with the animation studio. They like shut down, so they couldn't make the movies, and then Nickelodeon bought.
Yeah. So this surprisingly did very well. Again, my experience was that this would have bombed because I went to go see it and I didn't see other people. There wasn't a lot of buzz, but on a budget of $34 million, this made almost $100 million, which would be a lot for like even a regular movie.
No,
that's a good return.
It did really well, and I want to say that this movie's underrated, but based on like the box office, I'm not sure you can really say that.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. No one talks
maybe
about
underrated
this
in the
movie.
sense that nobody
like
talks about it because like it clearly made its money and enough money to warrant a sequel that they were gonna make.
Oh, by far. This is really the crux of this podcast, isn't it? Like when they're like, "Oh, we should make a sequel," and then they don't.
Yeah, and then like, hey, let's find out why. Usually it's stupid behind the scenes shit.
Okay, so Kevin Munroe stated that he would like to direct a possible sequel to TMNT, possibly involving the Return of the Shredder. Yeah, we got that. Munroe planned a trilogy. TMNT 2 would have loosely adapted the Turtles' 13-part comic book saga, City at War. Michelangelo would have felt rejected and joined the Foot Clan, while the Turtles would have traveled to Japan and would have crossed paths with Karai and Shredder. TMNT 3 would have featured the Triceratons, as well as the Technodrome's arrival from Dimension X. Munroe wanted Michael Clark Duncan to voice the Triceratons' leader, Commander Mozar. That's great casting.
Yeah.
With Donatello being a catalyst for these events. And then Kevin Munroe says, to me, that would have been the great third part to that trilogy. The first movie is about family and reclaiming the city. The second movie is about the boys growing up, losing Splinter, and then inheriting their father's war. And the third movie opens up their world on a level no one would have seen in a Ninja Turtles movie before.
This sounds like it would have been an amazing trilogy.
Sounds fantastic. And
it sounds like he knows what he's doing.
That's what I'm saying. And I think they should have let him do what he wanted in the first movie instead of introducing all these other characters. I really don't like...
disappointing that this didn't happen.
Because again, you can tell which parts of this movie are his and which parts aren't. And I really like all the stuff that he did here. So
yeah, because the second movie seems like it would have focused on Michelangelo. And then the third movie would have focused on Donatello. Every turtle would have had their...
like we said.
Because this one was Leo and Raph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
oh, that would have been so good.
Seriously. In an interview, Peter Laird stated he was interested in the idea of having the next film be live action and CGI hybrid with the turtles rendered in CGI, and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chris Evans reprising their roles in live action.
That might have been a little weird.
That is such a dumb idea. If anything, that's what you should have done in the first place.
Yeah.
So that you can still say, hey, this is actually connected with the last movie.
Yeah.
Which is not
Peter Laird, what were you
animated.
thinking?
And now you're saying, okay, it's already weird enough that the sequel's gonna be animated. The sequel to that one is going back to live action.
Well, Peter Laird's also the one that said, like, this one's not connected to the other movies. But the director, what was his name again?
Kevin Munroe.
Kevin Munroe said that it was connected to the old movies. I'm going to take Kevin Munroe's word over it.
Yeah.
Over Peter Laird's.
He clearly tried to make it connect.
And these sequels sounded actually very interesting.
Sound like good ideas. I like the one about Michelangelo because I think he wrote this with... oh, you know what? I kept on saying that he got handed a bad script. He wrote and directed this movie.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't mean anything because only writers can be credited as writers. The producers that are telling them what they can and cannot write don't get the fault for it.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And they don't...
and they don't care.
They don't care. And then, so there's so many times when a writer's like, I don't want my name on this because it's been changed outside of their control so much that it doesn't represent them
I'm sure
anymore.
it's happened with a lot of the movies that we do on this podcast.
I think we mentioned one before where we said the
writer said he didn't want to be involved.
Or he went uncredited or something.
He wanted his name struck from the...
which one was that?
I don't
Was
remember.
it LXG? No. Daredevil? No. Oh,
unless we're talking about how Alan Moore didn't want to be...
well, yeah. I think
Alan Moore's kind of a pretentious dick.
Yeah, we talked about that when
Yeah.
we did LXG. But I think he wrote this like okay with that. It's going to have less Michelangelo
Because
in
he
it.
was planning on doing a lot more with him later.
He says, this one's going to be more Leonardo Raphael focused because my next one's going to be more Michelangelo focused.
Okay.
And then maybe we're going to go from there. And they're going to have good balance, you know.
And does it say why the sequels ended up being canceled?
Oh, I think so.
I think something ended up happening with the animation studio they were using too.
I think it was mostly the Nickelodeon thing because that acquisition happened in 2009. So see, planned sequels were canceled after Nickelodeon acquired the franchise in 2009, rebooting the film series with a new film in 2014. What they should have done is made sequels to this. Like, just because they bought it doesn't mean that they couldn't do that. They could have still done that if they wanted to.
This iteration of the Turtles.
I wish they had made 2 more of these.
Yeah.
And put off the live... and I said this before that I would prefer live action Turtles.
Right.
Because the next one we're getting is animated again. It's CGI again. So it's like we keep on coming full circle.
But we've also seen what they can do with an animated movie, and it's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I think they should have made sequels to this.
Honestly,
and course corrected it a little bit. Like we're going to get more of this, stupid plot anyway.
Because the next reboot that comes after this, like I don't hate it, but it's It's not as good as this.
Yeah, I would say it's probably worse than this.
For different reasons.
Right. So we're pretty much in the analysis portion here, but I think my biggest problem with this movie is just it almost seems like this is a recycled plot. And this happens a lot where there's a movie that they don't make for whatever reason. It just sits on a shelf. And then when they go to make a different movie, they grab that script and they just retool it to match.
It does kind of feel like something like that happened here.
It feels like there was a different movie that had a story in it about some time history jumping guy who just like is immortal and he has to open a portal and do a thing and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, here, use this, put the turtles in it. And I'm not going to stay here and say like Kevin Munroe is a genius. I don't know the guy. Like, no. I'm only basing this off this one movie. But from what I see as him being the writer-director, I see him putting really good things in some of this.
He seems like knowledgeable in what he's doing at the very least.
Yeah. I feel like he's trying to make the best movie that he can with what he was given.
Yeah.
You know, because there's some really masterful stuff in this movie that I did not expect to see today.
No.
I really wasn't. I didn't remember
Especially
it.
like this was clearly like a movie marketed to like young kids. And there's a few things in this movie that are like dark's not the right word. I guess deep would be the right word.
Okay.
Which the old Turtle movies did as well.
But
well,
I think
at least the first and third one did.
But it's just the plot that's like kiddie.
Yeah.
It's a very kiddie plot.
It's a kiddie plot with a lot of mature elements happening within this kiddie plot.
Yeah. So I feel like he was given this kind of premise. Like, here, work with the confines of this. Here are the villains. Here's the design. We're already making the toys. So you have to do it. You know? And he had to do what he did because I watched a bonus feature. And that's where I saw that he was talking about the alternate opening and an alternate ending, too. And the way he's just kind of talking about it, I'm like, this guy's smart. He seems to know what he's doing. He wouldn't have written...
He seems like a fan of the source material, too.
Yeah, he wouldn't have written this stupid fucking plot unless he had no other option. You know, that's the impression I got from him. So, if you skip to the plot, we kind of went over all of the ways that we would have done this differently. Like, why introduce these 13 monsters? Why introduce these 4 stone generals? Why put more monsters on top of that? Why reanimate the stone guys? There's a lot of little bits that make you go, why'd you do that?
and it always ends up being because the plot demanded it, but it's like, but why?
Because he was told to, you know?
Yeah.
And again, runtime's an hour 26. 10 minutes.
It's a very short movie.
So
that
basically,
a lot of things happen in.
Basically an hour 16. A lot of characters, a lot of introduced characters.
Yeah.
Just
there's a lot to keep up with.
It feels really rushed. When you really take apart some of these characters, they do so little. Like, think about how much you see Casey Jones doing. Not a lot.
He's there, and he has a presence for sure.
Chris Evans is there, but he's not doing that much. They cut out his subplot because the extended ending would have been, they're on a rooftop, the Turtles, and Leonardo goes to Raphael and he's like, did you get rid of all of your Night Watcher stuff? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, even the motorcycle? And he's like, well, I couldn't get rid of the motorcycle. It's like, so what'd you do with it? And cuts to, he gifted it to Casey Jones, and Casey's like speeding on the motorcycle. Picks up April O'Neil, gives her a helmet. She puts on the helmet, and there's an engagement ring taped on the inside of the visor.
Oh.
And then they just drive away.
That would have been nice.
And it's only 30 more seconds. So it makes you wonder, like,
it also would have been like, I'm sure they didn't know this was going to be the last movie of this franchise, but it would have been some nice closure too.
Well, those plot points were set up because at the beginning, he's kind of the slob. He doesn't have his life together.
Right.
Because he sleeps in, because he's
up all night
being a vigilante.
Crime.
She wants to settle down. She wants to evolve their relationship, and he doesn't really want to change who he is.
And he has a talk with Raphael about it on the roof.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then, when they get ready for the fight, because they only have 2 scenes together, when they get ready for the fight, she's like, hey, I got you a new mask. And
he's like so happy about it.
He's happy because basically she's accepting him as, you're Casey Jones, you're going to fight crime, that's who you are, and I've accepted you. And so now he can therefore accept that they can still grow together by proposing at the end.
Yeah.
Apparently he asked Peter Laird if he could make this happen. Is this okay? And he was like, yeah, that's fine.
Why cut it?
Why cut it? Exactly. Doesn't that sound great? And he was like, I'm a fan of long endings. I like extra stuff at the end when he's explaining.
Too.
Yeah.
It should be like an epilogue type
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
But when you really think about the end of this movie, there's the end of the climax, and then there's one more scene. And that's it. And I think there might be a voiceover, and then they do a lot of jumping around.
Yeah. Like the ending.
It's Raphael doing the voiceover. Not even Lawrence Fishburne. Again, why hire Lawrence Fishburne?
That little voiceover was nice at the end, too, because it's Raphael kind of like, hey, you know, I'm with my brothers again.
Yeah, this is who we are. We're a team. The guy who's been saying the whole movie that they're not a team is now like, this is us. We're the Ninja Turtles. We're brothers. We fight, blah, blah, blah. So that is nice. That could have happened right after the Casey Jones proposal. You know, you could have
And it
put
would have
that
been
in
almost
there.
perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
But my point is, he's like, oh, I'm a fan of long endings. That even wouldn't have been a long ending.
No.
That's still a short ending.
And that tells me that he had to keep the movie under a certain length.
Right.
Which sucks.
Because those characters don't get closure. They have a subplot that never resolves.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, it sort of does, but not really.
Not in a satisfying way.
Yeah. Again, this is not how you should make movies. You should get a writer. You should say, hey, this is what we want to do. More or less.
How can we make this work in a way that works?
You be creative and let the creatives be creative. Yeah. You know? Not the first time we've said, studio gets in the way and the movie is an inferior product because of it, right?
You, WB.
Seriously. Actually, this is a WB distributed movie.
So of course it fucking is. That's why it's on HBO.
Maybe that... Exactly. Maybe that has something to do with it. So, if you want to move on to animation, the look of this movie, I don't know where your thoughts are.
I love it. I really do like it a lot.
I think it's really good.
It's stylized in a way that's, I want to say, unique. And I love the design of the turtles for this. Like, I'm saying this is one of my favorite iterations of the turtles just in how they look.
Visually.
Yeah. And they're all, like, not just a colored mask, but they're all unique in a certain way, like in their faces, too. Like, Michelangelo's eyes are slightly wider, like farther apart than the other turtles and a little bit bigger. It gives them, like, kind of like a whimsical look.
Yeah. His are the only ones that are blue. Because the rest have brown eyes. The director said he wanted him to look more innocent and young.
He did.
Yeah.
He really
by giving
did.
him blue eyes.
No, like that worked. Just the way the turtles look is amazing. The Night Watcher armor is really cool looking on Raphael.
Yeah.
And like we were saying in the scene between Leo and Raph.
Oh, beautiful.
The facial animation is just good.
Yeah, beautiful. The animation, you could tell that they put the money in the right places. Yeah. Because I would argue that the humans don't look very good.
No, they just kind of look like...
April, Casey, and Winters
look a little generic.
They look like TV budget CGI kids show.
But when you see like the turtles and the monsters...
They look fantastic. Yeah. The turtles especially look fantastic.
Which is good. They needed to.
There's a color to their skin that looks real. They're very well painted. The humans all are kind of like painted with one color, it looks like.
Yeah, the humans look like cartoon characters.
Yeah. But the turtles look great.
If that makes sense.
When you talk about CG animation, CG is more of a method than a medium, you know, because you can make very realistic characters in CG. Kind of like you look at like the Lion King movie. It's a fully computer animated movie, but you could call it live action because it is clearly...
It looks photorealistic.
It is trying to look photorealistic. Then there's like CGI where it's intended to look like a cartoon, like a Pixar movie. And then there's CGI that's intended to look more like a stylistic cartoon, like the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you look at that, they look like they were hand-drawn and then converted to CGI, and then that style is still there.
Okay, yeah.
Like Mikey's got kind of crooked teeth, and I mean, there are other. I mean, there's probably other examples I can make. This is somewhere in the middle where they're trying to strike some level of realism, even though the human characters are still kind of like they're stylized, like they don't look like real life humans.
They don't look how people look. Yeah,
yeah.
But it does work though.
I don't know about the humans. The humans is where I'm like, everything else looks fantastic. And I think one of the reasons this movie looks so good, it's because of the cinematography. And it's obviously not real cinematography. There weren't any
There's
real
not an actual
cameras.
camera that they're moving around. Yeah.
But unlike a lot of CGI stuff that's, you know, made in a computer, this doesn't look like it's made on a computer. It almost looks like they filmed this in real life and then painted it in CGI. Do you know what I mean? Like, it looks real. Because there's shadows.
Yeah.
The way the light bounces off things. There's a lot of
detail.
Yes. There's a ton of detail. There's a ton of light and shadow. The cities look real.
Especially the scene where Leo is talking with April with the campfire. and you see like the light on his face moving from the fire.
But there's another scene where the smoke looked really fake. So there's a lot of compromise here.
Yeah.
But so, for example, I was watching, don't ask me why, I was watching Paw Patrol.
Right.
I'll tell you why. It's because we wanted to see if our dog Kaya would like it. So we put it on the TV
It's
for
not
her.
a show for dogs.
But when they bark, she kind of pricked up a little bit. So I thought maybe she would watch it.
Oh my.
Anyway, it's a very cheaply made kids CGI show. So none of it looks real. Like I saw one scene that they're inside a building and like inside a room, and there's nothing on the walls. There's just kind of like whatever
like
set
blank background.
Yeah, whatever set prop they need in front of them. That's the only thing that's there, and it's just very kind of
minimalistic.
Well, no, because that implies that it was like intentional.
Oh,
just minimally like designed.
Okay,
you know, because it's just like do the minimum. These are kids.
Do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Who cares? Exactly. This is not that. You know what I mean?
No, there's detail in even like the backgrounds and stuff.
Oh no, the cityscapes look beautiful.
Yeah.
The way the rain effects work, the glistening off like their skin when they're wet in the rain.
And there's quite a few scenes where they're like in the rain or something.
All that looked incredible. There's a lot of light and shadow that looks really good. The turtles are in shadow a lot. If you
As
look
they
at
should be.
I mean, you can look at this poster. The poster not so much, but
there's a lot of lighting on that poster.
Yeah. If there's a lot of like soft lighting. If you look at any still image of this movie, the turtles out and about, they're probably half in shadow.
Well,
you know,
they're always out at night, which I like that they did. It's not like the second movie where they're just walking around in broad daylight in the city.
Yeah. But I'm saying like if you compare this to maybe like the animated TV show, the CGI TV show,
okay.
in that I don't think there's as many shadows. Like I feel like they're just completely colored.
Right. That's also working on a TV budget.
Still, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I think this looks beautiful because, again, it doesn't feel like it's made in a computer so much as it feels like they shot it in real life and then tried to convert it somehow. Like they traced over it in CGI almost.
Okay.
You know? And with that in mind, when you're making a CGI movie, it's going to look better because it looks like a real movie. There's a lot of really good blocking in this. There's, you know, when Leo and Raph are arguing and they're kind of walking around in a circle, when the camera goes back and forth to them, you know, Raph will be on the very right side of the screen and Leo will be on the very left side of the screen. And it's just one of those things where it's visually telling you they're on opposite sides.
Yeah.
Even though you know they are, but because it's on the screen that way, it's almost tricking your brain a little bit. You know, it's telling you things.
It's like techniques that you usually only see in like live action movies.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is very much shot like it was in live action.
Yeah.
A lot of the fight scenes are really good. And that's what we had said earlier.
Yeah, very much like choreographed.
And the choreography looks real. And again, there's no quick cuts, none of that. And if anything,
if you're doing an animated movie, I hope there's no quick cuts.
Well, it's just as easy.
I know. But
in animated, because then you don't have to.
You don't have to animate it.
You don't have to animate like their bodies,
like the impact,
moving
and
impacts. Yeah, I've heard that one of the hardest things to animate is like a character walking, because then you have to trace the feet with the ground just perfectly so it doesn't slide and moonwalk around. So a lot of times and I'm talking about like cartoons. Because here, it's computer and blah, blah, blah. But so a lot of times what they'll do is that they'll just cut the feet out of a walking scene.
And you'll see the legs moving.
Yeah, think about Scooby-Doo. You know how they're always walking down a hall?
I'm picturing Shaggy walking.
Yeah, and it's all like pre-animated stuff that they recycle. Every single walk is exactly the same.
Yeah.
But their feet never align with the floor very well. They're always kind of like gliding along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So by doing wide angles and long takes, it's a lot more work even in animation than it is in live action.
Which makes it all the more impressive that they did it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of long cuts in this. And maybe, again, go back to the director saying, we're doing this animated because we can do things that we can't do in live action. Maybe that's one of the things. There's that really long shot where they're fighting on the foot, and the camera follows from one character to another.
Like as they're fighting and then...
Yeah. Nowadays, you see that a lot in live action, but that's CGI aided. You know,
very much so, yeah.
They're not shooting that all at once because it'd be impossible. They shoot it in segments and then they stitch it together with CGI.
Yeah.
So all of those directorial things, cinematography things, that's what leads me to believe that this guy is good.
He's very talented.
And had it not been for these plot elements that are clearly been inserted by like a studio, this could have been really, really good. You know?
I still like this movie.
I still like it overall. Sure, but it's just those things that just kind of bother me.
I want to say this is the last time that the Turtles kind of had like their classic look like this in like major media, because all the cartoons have like completely reinvented them every time.
No, the last the 2012 animated CGI cartoon, they're slightly different. They're more stylistic, but they're not an overhaul.
But this one is so close to the live action one and like the 80s cartoon one. Like when I think Ninja Turtles, like I'm thinking like these ones.
But again, this is supposed to be a sequel to those movies, so they kind of
like,
have to be.
I don't know if this is a popular opinion, but to me, like this is the best design I've seen of the Turtles.
Okay. Yeah.
Like ever.
I'd have to watch the new movies again, but that is a big redesign. First of all, first of all, they're enormous.
They're massive.
Because these turtles are always about like 5'6", or 5'5". They're pretty small.
In the reboot, they're like 7 feet.
They're like 7 feet tall. Yeah, they
look like
enormous,
monsters.
Which fine. You didn't need to make them huge, but fine.
I do buy into it, but I just like the way they look.
Yeah. Here. And in the new cartoon, they're different species. Each turtle's a different species. So they all are wildly different sizes. And that bothers me a lot.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I haven't seen an episode of it yet. But it bothers me that Raphael is like a Hulk size and Donatello is really skinny and small.
Yeah. Which, like, if you go by their personalities, it makes sense, but
they should still be about the same size.
I thought they were literally like turtles that were brothers.
Yeah, and that does kind of break that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So this movie, too short as usual.
Every single one of these movies
monsters
have been too short.
Let's see what I haven't touched up on. Monsters are cannon fodder / toys to sell. Yep. You can always tell when it's supposed to be a toy because when they show like a group of villains or characters and each of them are wildly different looking, it's to distinguish each one so that they can sell a toy. We said this at Electra when I'm like, there's no toys there, but they still introduce a series of villains that are all different looking.
Like incredibly different looking.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this case, you had one that looks like a regular man, one that looks like a regular woman, one that looks like a huge brooding Hulk of a man, and one that looks like a hunched over animal hyena looking guy. Right?
Yeah.
Why? To sell toys.
Yeah, like I thought these generals were humans.
Right. But the voice acting we said is
incredible.
Really well done in this. This is a very talented group. I like that they went with mostly voice actors.
Yeah, with the exception of like Chris Evans and Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Just the human characters. And it kind of didn't matter because they had the smallest parts.
Yeah, and they were fine anyway.
They're fine.
Yeah.
You had Chris Evans.
And this was like before he was even...
No, he was in Fantastic Four.
And that was like it.
More or less. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's a huge name at this point. This is like the peak of her career.
This is after Buffy. This is after Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. And then Patrick Stewart, who's obviously a huge actor.
Just always been big. Yeah. Still is.
But all the main characters are classic voice actors. So that's really nice. And they did amazing. And it's nice that they get like these big prominent roles in a big movie.
Yeah.
Kind of to show like you don't have to go with, name brand actors, for lack of a better term. But that's something we talked about where like at one point animation started going with
Prince of Egypt,
like regular actors.
Wait, did Prince of Egypt do it? Yeah.
Well, it was really
was Ben Affleck
Lion King. No. Lion King started that, I want to say. Lion King was, I think, the first time where they said, well, let's get an ensemble cast of actors.
Yeah.
Of, like, well-known actors. And then
Aladdin
after that,
did it, too. They had Robin Williams.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Never mind.
No, yeah. It was Lion King. And then after that, Prince of Egypt was kind of a DreamWorks response to Disney. So that's kind of why they did it.
Oh, Ben Affleck was Joseph in Joseph King of Dreams. That was Ben Affleck that played Joseph.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
I've never seen Joseph King of Dreams.
It's not as good as Prince of Egypt. It's like it came out later and it felt like it was lower budget.
I think it was
probably because they hired Ben Affleck.
Well, no, I think it's because it was a direct-to-DVD or direct-to-video. I don't think they got a theatrical release.
Whereas Prince of Egypt, I think, was a theatrical release.
Oh, yeah. It got nominated for a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah, because it was really
great
fucking
movie.
good.
That thing
Val Kilmer was Moses in Prince of Egypt. Okay. Why am I looking this up?
On the subject of what we were talking about earlier on deleted endings, I found a deleted ending for the first Ninja Turtles movie. And you remember how April in that movie is kind of an artist?
Yeah.
And she's been penciling sketches of the Turtles. And then...
They never touch on that again.
Right. And then Danny, the boy, reads comic books.
Mm.
And then at one point, he's gifted one of the drawings. You know, I remember
Turns it
April
into
gave...
a comic?
Yes. They go and pitch the Ninja Turtles as a comic book to a writer.
That's meta.
And it's very meta. So it's April and Danny, and they're sitting in the office, and they're pitching this idea to a comic producer. And the guy's like, executive-looking guy. And he's like, I don't know.
This is ridiculous.
Here's the thing. It's too far-fetched. And they both go, far-fetched? Because obviously they know it's real. And then that moment, the turtles have been eavesdropping from the outside of the window. They're like dangling on the side of like the skyscraper. And they all poke their heads in. And then they laugh and laugh and laugh at the executive. And he's like, what? And then Michelangelo looks at the camera and he's like, far-fetched.
That's funny.
That could have been fun as like a little post-credits scene. You know, that's what I would have...
Yeah, that would have been a nice like stinger.
Yeah. If those had been more normalized back then, like that's what I'd put it like, 2 minutes into the credits or whatever.
That's almost perfect for a stinger.
Yeah. It's just one of those things like, why'd you cut it out? Like that should have been in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like they filmed it and everything?
Yeah, no, I watched it. It's on YouTube.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Go watch it. I'll link it. Okay, so I think that's it for the analysis of this movie. We can move on to... Keep or cancel.
Yeah.
The segment where we talk about the stars of the movie and we decide if we're going to keep them or cancel them. So there's a lot of people in this movie. So we have Chris Evans, we have Sarah Michelle Gellar, we have Patrick Stewart, we have Mako, and we talked about Nolan North a little bit and James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor Arnold? Arnold
James,
Taylor.
I think it's Arnold Taylor.
I think
I think you said Taylor Arnold.
I
earlier.
did say it wrong. Yeah, it's James Arnold Taylor.
Oh,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah. we got the names right.
Yeah. So sorry I showered him with praise while calling him the wrong name. So it's a lot of people, and I thought about it. Chris Evans we're going to touch on.
He's in a few movies that we're going to go over.
Oh, he's in...
both Fantastic Fours and Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim. Isn't he in another one?
He might be in another one.
Yeah, we're going to see him in The Losers, both Fantastic Four movies, and Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. So, like...
We'll have time to talk about it.
We'll have time for him. Patrick Stewart obviously is going to be the subject of a lot of conversation in X-Men. Great.
Yeah.
Obviously. So, I'm like, who do we have left? Like, we're going to...
James Arnold Taylor, Nolan North.
We talked
Mako,
about, but I mean, they're
Sarah
not...
Michelle Gellar.
So, I figure we do Mako and Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Okay.
Do you want to start with Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Sure.
I didn't really get a whole lot here. Let me just...
I like her. I've always liked her, though.
Sarah Michelle Gellar. Let me just look up her thing now. So...
She's married to Freddie Prinze Jr.
Are they still married? Oh, they're still married. Look at that. That's so cute.
They're like a super wholesome couple. They are both in Star Wars Rebels. They both do voice actor work in that.
Well, I know about Freddie Prinze. I don't know Sarah Michelle Gellar was in those.
Yeah, she plays one of the villains.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cute. There's a YouTube video, radio or podcast interview of Freddie Prinze Jr., and he goes on a huge rant about Star Wars and George Lucas and how everyone like misinterprets Star Wars and the Force, and it's really good.
I've heard that before. He makes good points.
He makes
great
uses
points. Some foul language too.
Yeah, because I think
he gets real like heated.
Yeah, because I think he's sick of Star Wars fans being fucking assholes. I like him a lot. We're not talking about him though. We're talking about Sarah Michelle Gellar. She is best known for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
Did you watch that?
I would see it on TV a lot when I was younger. I didn't like watch the series straight through or anything. My mom watched it and she liked it, and I think she liked the spinoff Angel more though, which is funny because I think that was a worse show.
It's Jessica Alba, right?
Angel? No, Angel's a guy. Jessica Alba was in something else.
What was Jessica Alba in?
Jessica Alba was in Dark Angel, which is a different show.
Oh, that's why.
No, Angel was like the name of one of the vampires in Buffy.
Gotcha. She made her breakthrough in All My Children, a daytime soap, which I think is still running.
I think it is, yeah.
In 1993.
Whoa.
Obviously, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And then I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream 2, Cruel Intentions. Right. A couple horror movies, a couple fun horror movies. Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2 as Daphne.
Hell yeah.
That first Scooby-Doo movie.
I love it.
Great.
It's genius.
That movie's so fun. You know why? Because it's written by James Gunn. We watched it not that long ago. The second one's not as good at all.
But it is still good.
There's some enjoyable aspects.
It's still enjoyable.
I think she does a good Daphne. I think she did good in those.
She did. And I think Freddie Prinze Jr. played a great Fred.
Yeah. Were they already together around that time?
I think so. She plays herself in one of the Call of Duty zombie maps.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's just one of the people you play as, and it's literally like Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That's so funny. So she does very light acting now. She kind of stopped
Just
acting.
like every once in a while. She was in The Grudge.
So I think her most recent thing was she played herself in The Big Bang Theory in 2019. She was in a couple things.
Oh, she's gonna be in the Masters of the Universe reboot.
That's
she's voicing Tila.
Right. That's like her most recent thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, like there's very little that she's done. I mean, she's a mom. Whatever,
Call of Duty Black Ops herself.
Yeah, like small, easy things. But I mean, she's not doing like 4 movies a year or anything like that.
No.
There's something about Sarah Michelle Gellar I just never quite. I don't know.
Really?
Like
I always
she's
liked
this
her.
big like 2000s it girl, but like it just never landed with me. Like something about her face or voice. I don't know.
Something just doesn't work for you.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with her.
I always liked her.
So you're a keep.
Oh yeah, she's great.
I kind of want to cancel her. I don't know. Like I have no reason. I just don't love her.
Wow.
I don't know. So let's move on to Mako.
He is awesome.
No, he's quite amazing. His name is Makoto Iwamatsu. Probably pronouncing that wrong. Japanese-American actor, but in all his roles, he goes simply by Mako. He's done a lot of voice work.
Oh, yeah.
But
a lot of people, at least our age, will know him as Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Right. Or
Apu?
Yeah.
Aku? Aku from Samurai Jack. The villain from Samurai Jack.
I think it's Aku, yeah.
Yeah. Apu is the monkey from
However, he does have his film roles include Pohan in The Sand Pebbles, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award.
Wow.
But I mean, he's been acting for a while, obviously.
Yeah, he was very seasoned when he passed away.
He was Akiro the Wizard in Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer.
Oh, so he worked alongside Arnold?
Yeah. He was in 7 Years in Tibet. All these old movies that are on my list of movies to watch that I just haven't seen yet.
A lot of like old, like classic type movies.
Exactly.
Like prominent roles.
Yeah. He was also in Stephen Sondheim Broadway musical, Pacific Overtures.
Well, we know he can sing from Avatar.
Earned him a Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical. Wow. Later in his career, became well known for his voice roles, including Aku, the first 4 seasons of Samurai Jack, Iroh, and Avatar.
And he was Splinter in this movie.
Yes, for like half
of it. For a little bit of it, yeah.
Played Jackie Chan's uncle. In
Jackie Chan Adventures?
No.
Oh, damn it.
In Jackie Chan's first movie, The Big Brawl. He was in RoboCop 3.
I haven't seen any of the RoboCops.
He was in Pearl Harbor. He was one of the
Japanese.
Obviously. He was one of the Americans. Members of a geisha.
He's in a lot of
theater.
High profile movies.
Yeah, a lot of theaters.
How did he pass away? Cancer?
Yeah, esophageal cancer.
Damn. Throat cancer, yet he was still such a great voice actor up until the end.
Yeah, so one day, what we were saying earlier, one day before his death, Mako had been confirmed to star in the film TMNT as voice of Splinter. He was announced at Comic-Con, was in the process of already working on the role.
Damn.
So he had recorded some of his lines, but not all of his lines. And that's when...
It's like a white dude
Greg
sounding
Baldwin. In the Avatar Last Airbender episode, Tales from Ba Sing Se, the segment titled Tales of Argo.
Was he the one that sang the song in that episode?
Probably.
Because that would have already been recorded, right?
Exactly. Because it was created in...
Well, they did like the...
I don't know.
It says here, in honor of him.
Exactly. It says here the segment titled Tale of Iroh was created in honor of Mako, the voice actor for Iroh. So I don't know
if he was the one that sang or if the other guy did. I think he did, because there's an article that says why Greg Baldwin will never sing Iroh's Leaves from the Vine.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I think this misworded it, because it said it was created in honor. And
they probably added that part at the end.
Yeah, after it was like already done. Because there was like several episodes that he's not in for a while.
Or if he is in it, he doesn't speak because he's like in prison.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of a way to keep him quiet while they rounded up another actor.
Figure out what to do.
So after Mako's death, some of his roles, particularly Aku from Samurai Jack and Iroh and Avatar, were taken over by American voice actor Greg Baldwin. So Yeah, obviously because he's a good actor who can impersonate him.
And there's a whole article here about how Greg Baldwin refuses to sing the Leaves from the Vine song because he feels like it would be like a dishonor to his memory.
Yeah. One thing we were saying about this movie where they went to the lengths to cast like Asian actors for the Asian roles. Right. Even though they're voice roles, you don't see them.
Right.
Which goes against some of the other movies where they casted Americans to pretend to like voice over Asian actors
that are
with Asian accents. Yeah,
it's weird.
Who speak English too? So yeah, it was kind of weird. So that's nice. But then Mako dies. He's replaced by
somebody that can replicate his voice very well
because he can do that exactly. So super interesting guy. All his stuff is really good. I love Uncle Iroh. I love his voice. There's something about the timbre of his voice is just so soothing, and that's kind of where you can tell him apart from Greg in those Avatar episodes. Mm-hmm. In this, I couldn't tell who was who. There were parts where I was like, "That's definitely Mako," though.
Yeah.
So super keep.
Keep him for sure.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, about Sarah Michelle Gellar. She appeared in a controversial television commercial for Burger King in which her character criticized McDonald's and claimed to only eat at Burger King. The ad led to a lawsuit by McDonald's naming Gellar and banning her from eating at the food chain. She recalled in a 2004 interview, "I wasn't allowed to eat there. It was tough because when you're a little kid, McDonald's is where all your friends have their birthday parties. So I missed out on a lot of apple pies."
So let me get this straight. We all know I work in a McDonald's. If Sarah Michelle Gellar comes into McDonald's tomorrow and I'm there, do I have to say, "I'm sorry, Miss Gellar, you are banned still from McDonald's. I cannot serve you"?
I don't know if she's still banned or not. It's like a funny little story, and I love how she was like upset about it. Because the commercial was when she was a little kid.
Also, she did say that when she was approached for this movie, they were like, "You don't have kids, so maybe you don't know. It's a thing called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles." She was like, "Excuse me? I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm in. What are you talking about?" Like, yeah, dumbass. What? Like, she's a millennial. Like, she grew up.
She was a kid Ninja when they Turtles. Came out. But yeah, I'm keeping both of them.
Cool. Okay, so final thoughts on this movie, TMNT, and will we put this movie in the fandom zone?
There's some glaring issues with this movie, especially plot-wise. But overall, I really do like this movie. I like a lot of the things they did with this movie.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been a very good, not only like kind of send-off to the live-action movies, but a really good jumping-off point for another franchise. And I really do wish that continued.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. It's exactly that. It's a soft reboot in the best way where it could start a brand new trilogy. That'd be very interesting. But also it does acknowledge like what the last movies did and kind of make a change. Like almost say like, hey, that's over and here's a new thing. Like you were saying, like
it's like they're growing up.
Yeah. And had they done the thing with the proposal, like
that would have been great.
Here's a actual milestone where you can say like this is a different set of circumstances, a different kind of characters going forward. Yeah, overall, I think this movie's fine. I didn't love it because just these little plot things really bugged me. I think everything that they're doing in the plot is stupid. I hate all this like stars align. You got to get the monster to put in the thing, and here's all these extra characters that don't need to be here. All of that's no good for me. But all of the turtle stuff is great. I love all the turtle stuff being turtles. You see this, and this is unmistakably Ninja Turtles being Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's well acted. The characters are written very well. The conflict between Leo and Raph is a familiar one, sure, but it's done very well. And it took them to like a breaking point, and it was very cathartic, I think, for those characters.
Yeah, they needed it.
Yeah, it was a very satisfying scene on the rooftop. I stopped taking notes and I just was like, I need to watch this. You know what I mean? I put everything down and I just stared at the screen. I'm like, I really need to watch this scene. It's expert, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really sad that clearly, you know, the studio gave him a ton of shit to do. It's got to be like this, and it's all got to be within an hour and 25 minutes.
We got to sell toys.
You know, it's way too many limitations on something that could have been really, 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 really good.
It was like... We were on the cusp of greatness.
Oh, we were so close.
We were this close.
God. But seriously, though,
But like, yeah, honestly, this movie was so close to being
there,
being almost perfect, the perfect Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah, you almost had it. You almost had it. If they were just doing something else.
Yeah.
If the same character, same everything, you just had them doing something different, it might have really worked. Because we didn't mention it, the themes are really good here. There's just a lot of like good family dynamic, families breaking up, brotherhood is breaking up. How do you mend that? And yeah, I wish I had made sequels to this because the sequels might have course corrected a little bit. Maybe
it sounded like they would have.
Maybe we got 2 sequels where the plot's less, toy commercial-y and more kind of story focused.
Yeah,
that could have been really good. So overall, yeah, this is not in the Phantom Zone for me either. I think this movie should be watched again. It's easily forgotten about. Easily the most forgotten about movie in the Turtles.
Absolutely will
franchise.
not put this in the Phantom Zone, and it's a movie that should have been talked about more.
Yeah.
Because people don't even really acknowledge this movie. And part of it might be because it's like, oh, that's that like one-off animated one, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't exactly a one-off. And I feel like the fact that it's animated actually gave it a few strengths that
the other ones couldn't do. Exactly. Yeah. The facial expressions
were fantastic.
That's the main one, I think. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's our thoughts. That's TMNT from 2007. Why do they call it that? I mean, I get it, but like...
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's short and easy. I mean,
but
at least they didn't call it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
4. I feel like they should have just called it 4.
It probably would have brought some of the older fans back.
Yeah. I mean, it's what it is. This is 4. Yeah. So, I don't know. And for me, I personally think that like part of the fun of the Ninja Turtles is like this super long... Like, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous name, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's like part of the fun, So abbreviating it just kind of like, it kind of sucks that out a bit,
Yeah.
But that's it for TMNT. That's it for us for the Ninja Turtles for now. We won't come back to this until we do the next franchise.
One's produced by Michael Bay. I don't think he directed them.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
And we might save those to kind of, till we get the next... movies.
Seth Rogen fueled reboot coming out.
We might do that. There was a question about the TV show, the Next Mutation show we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a movie in it per se because it's a TV show.
Right.
But the first 5 episodes are all called the same thing. It's like a 5-parter.
So it's like kind of like a TV movie?
So it's kind of like a TV movie, but I'm going to say...
Nah.
No.
Does it connect to the movies at all in any way?
No, but it is a sequel to like the movies, sort of.
Like this.
These would basically be parallel to each other.
Huh. This is the missing time that.
Yeah.
The show is the missing gap of time.
No, I'm saying like that's one direction.
Oh.
And this is a different one.
So they're both sequels, but they both do completely different things. They don't, obviously.
They don't exist concurrently. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because otherwise we'd have the Power Rangers running around.
Right. They meet the Power Rangers in that show. So maybe that's something we watch for fun, and maybe I'll put it on, and after 2 episodes, I'll decide if we're going to consider that a movie or not. Because I feel like if it's not released in one go, it's not a movie. If it's a 5-part arc.
A 5-part, yeah, it's just like an episode arc.
Yeah, that's not a movie. I don't think we're doing any, but anyway.
We're not doing Next Mutation.
Yeah. So for now, this is it for the TMNT, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I already feel a little bit sad because I really like Ninja Turtles, and this has really just kind of reinvigorated my interest.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to probably buy some comics after this. I'm probably going to watch some of the TV shows.
I really wish this iteration in particular continued.
Yeah, well.
It had so much potential.
Some of the TV shows are really good.
I like the 2003 one.
That's on Paramount Plus, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the old Fox Kids cartoon?
Yeah.
Or it's like kind of edgy?
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. For some reason, the CGI one isn't on there.
Which I think is one of the more well-received ones.
That one's good. I saw the first season. I saw the entire first season. I was a fan of it.
Okay.
So it's good. But I'm having like turtle fever now. So like I think I'm going to keep on.
I want to get into the comics.
The comics. The IDW one, the new ones, are a departure slightly, by the way. Like their origins are slightly different. It's a little bit more kind of
like
out there.
It's a new iteration of them.
Yeah. But that leads into what we were saying before about like The Last Ronin, which is a very interesting comic that's like out now.
Yeah.
About.
If anything, I do want to at least read that.
Yeah.
And I want to read like some of the originals too, just to like
for sure.
get some appreciation.
I'll send you the website.
Okay.
Where I just found them for free. I think it's legal. I don't know. But so that's pretty much it for us, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Oh shit, we need to pick a next movie.
Oh, we got to do that now, don't we?
Yeah. I was thinking about Dragon Ball. It's a nice little one-off.
I do want to do a one-off. Yeah, we can do Dragon Ball.
Okay, we just decided, guys. We're going to do Dragon Ball Evolution.
Starring the cast of Shameless.
Yes. Starring Justin Chatwin.
And Emmy Rossum.
Emmy Rossum, yeah. That movie is not available anywhere, I believe. You can rent it, but you can't stream it anywhere.
I own it on Vudu.
I'm pretty sure I own it on DVD.
I don't know why I own it. It's
No,
not
I'm
good.
excited for that. I'm excited for that because we're doing a manga.
Japanese comic book.
Yeah, we've mostly done like DC, Marvel, and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So
and this could open the door to a few other Japanese inspired movies, like Speed Racer.
We got Speed Racer. We got like Alita, because they say they're gonna make sequels to that, but I'll believe that when I see it.
I do, and I actually kind of want to watch Alita.
What's that one with Scarlett Johansson too?
Oh, Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell, yeah.
Where they whitewashed her and everyone's real pissed. I think Scarlett Johansson was pissed about it too.
I don't think the Japanese people give a shit.
Japanese people didn't give a shit. Americans gave a shit.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're like, we don't care. It doesn't affect us. Make your movie. We make our movies.
Yeah, it's like, the Japanese people were like, that's an American version of our story. Like, who cares?
They do it all the time. They made a fucking Spider-Man.
And he's Japanese.
So it's the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
do they have a movie of that?
Because no, it's like a TV show.
Damn it.
Real quick. My point is, it's whitewashing when you take a character that's supposed to be Asian or some other, race, and you cast an American person, a white person to do it. That's whitewashing. But if you adapt a story that is not really even set in Japan.
Also,
you just adapted
the
story from
character's
scratch.
not even a human.
That's what I'm saying. If you adapt a story from complete scratch,
yeah,
is that whitewashing or is that just an adaptation?
It's just a different adaptation.
Yeah, because we're going to get to this if we're talking about Dragon Ball.
Like a robot?
That too, but we're going to get to this when we get to Dragon Ball because they casted some Asians in roles, but they casted a lot of white people. And I don't know if that's a criticism of that movie because it's already so horrible.
I think it is, but also I wouldn't consider it whitewashing because this is just a different version of Dragon Ball.
It's just an adaptation of a story about aliens on a prehistoric Earth, I might add, because they live with dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay, and Goku's an alien, and Bulma has blue hair, like she's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, is she white? Is she Japanese? Like, does it matter?
She looks white in the comic and in the anime.
She looks
like a white girl with blue hair.
Okay, she has blue hair, but she looks like not Japanese. Like Chi-Chi looks Japanese.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. I'm just saying, I don't think it's that whitewashy.
Well, also in a lot of like just anime, and I think the pronunciation is manga, so I'm going to try to say it right.
Okay, sure.
A lot of the times the characters don't look Japanese anyway. They usually look European.
What's kind of my point is that I feel like if any of those characters was supposed to be white, it's Bulma. You know?
Yeah.
Like Agent 18, who's like this blonde girl.
Oh, Android 18?
Android 18. And she's a robot. Again.
And with Goku, it's like he's an alien, so I guess he could look like whatever.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's this whole thing, but
I'm sure we'll talk about that next week when we watch Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball Evolution.
Evolution. Oh, fuck yeah.
Why do they call it Evolution?
What's evolving?
Is it just because
does that have something to do with like the Saiyans?
It's
evolving?
like the movie now. No, but they follow pretty much the story of the first.
Very loosely. Very loosely.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Let's just cut this shit and we'll get to Dragon Ball next week.
I'm a fan of long endings.
Yeah. Oh, true. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for subscribing to the podcast on your app. Thanks to that piano dude for a musical intro. Make sure you guys leave a rating and review on whatever you can, whether it's Apple or YouTube or...
I think those are the only two you can leave a rating on.
Google? Can you do Google? Amazon? Pandora? Please tell a friend. And if you've told a friend, thank you so much for telling a friend.
Yeah, tell your friends, tell your siblings, tell your...
If you haven't told a friend, then you're left out.
Tell your teacher.
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Guys, you can find us on Instagram at Films from the Phantom Zone, and you can find us on Twitter at Films from PZ. If you want to argue with us, that's the place to go. At me, bro. At me. All these episodes are available on YouTube if that's how you like to consume podcasts. There's no visual element, but hey, if you're on a computer, you're at work and you just want to pop that open on YouTube, plug in your headphones, you can do that. That's at Films from the Phantom Zone. We record all our episodes live on Twitch, on twitch.tv/filmsfrompz.
If you're watching, you could see me waving right now.
So guys, if you want to be a part of the podcast, if you want to talk to us, ask questions, argue with us live on the spot about the movies we're watching, that's the place to do it. We're on Monday nights, 9 p.m. We drink, we talk about our drinks. Sometimes we take breaks, we eat food, we watch a Stanley Cup and talk about it. If you just guys, again, you just want to hang out with us, that's the place to do it. But if you like the show, you want to support the show, you can do so on Patreon. We're still figuring that out, but
we're also still figuring out the show a little bit.
We are?
Yeah.
I feel like we've solidified the show pretty good.
I think we're getting pretty good at what we do, but I mean...
I think the format's pretty much an... If you have any suggestions, let's wrap this up and we can hash things out.
Yeah, we can brainstorm.
We can air our grievances.
I don't have grievances.
You made it sound... You sounded like you had a lot to say.
I just feel like we're still finding our footing in the podcast world.
Okay. I think we're okay.
We're still little people.
Do you want to overhaul it?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't want to overhaul it.
All right, guys. We're going to hash this out. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.